across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
And good afternoon. Thank you to Julia. Back tomorrow at 10 o'clock right here at the home of Common Sense here on Talk. Lots to get through, as you will now be painfully aware. That 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the US has been announced. Keir Starmer welcoming the news with a visit to Gulf leaders. US President Donald Trump confirmed the agreement on Truth Social, stating he would suspend bombing and attacks on Iran for a period of 2 weeks. Is Keir Starmer likely to play a big part in the Middle East peace process? We'll look at that story in just a moment. Also this afternoon, oil prices have dropped significantly after President Trump announced that ceasefire, including reopening the Strait of Hormuz. We will see how that pans out in the coming hours and days. American crude plummeted 18% from $117 a barrel down to $93. Will that be reflected on our own forecourts? Watch this space. Elsewhere, the Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch has vowed to outlaw strikes by doctors. She's condemned the BMA, stating it was a betraying patients that its members swore to serve. She's onto something. Does she get your support on this one? 0344 499 1000. So let's start here. This was the warning, of course, and we've had this in varying forms over the last couple of weeks, but this was the warning from the US president.
The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
Might be tomorrow night, but it wasn't last night. Donald Trump, a man who throws out those threats like confetti. We know this. He ordered tariffs and cancelled them. He was going to take over Greenland and cancelled. He was going to build a wall. What happened to the wall, by the way? And got as far as laying a few slabs. But on this occasion, he may have played a blinder, stumbled, blundered, whatever you want to call it, even bullied his way into something that resembles peace by threatening Iran with what can only be described as a deal with me or deal with a missile moment. He apparently extracted a negotiating partner from a theocratic regime that previously wouldn't negotiate with anyone who wore a flipping tie. Remarkable stuff. Accidental, terrifying, call it what you like, but this is where we're at. Bring out the Nobel Peace Prize. Donald J. Trump might just win it. I'm serious on this point. Donald Trump might just win it. Yesterday, he was about to start World War III, according to his critics and those who understandably and quite naturally weren't quite sure what was going on. And then today, Keir Starmer shuffling earnestly into the Middle East picture with his sensible shoes and his carefully worded statements, looking for all the world like a supply teacher who just arrived at the school trip just as someone else had sorted out the coach. Will Starmer help solve the peace process? Almost certainly not, but he will produce a very thorough joint communique about it. We know that much. Remember, our Prime Minister is all about the peace.
It's been a good deal of pressure on me to change my position in relation to joining the war, and I'm not going to change my position on the war. So whatever the pressure, whatever the noise, I'm the British Prime Minister and I have to act in our national interests.
OK, so Trump bought a gun, Starmer bought a clipboard, and somehow that might just be what peace looks like in 2025. 0344 499 1000. We called this yesterday when the world was going mad with a very unconventional and deliberately disturbing post from Donald Trump about how a civilization is about to be obliterated. They won't exist anymore. I mean, we've never seen this kind of stuff. Now, if you're a super Trump supporter, whether you're American or not, and I do find it kind of sometimes bizarre. Look, America is different to the leader of France or Germany, Japan or elsewhere. But I do find it odd that still a sizable amount of Brits have a kind of sort of political relationship with Donald Trump as if he is your leader, almost as if he's your dad. say anything critical of Trump, and that rather bizarre anti-intellectual accusation of Trump derangement syndrome sets in. I think if any other president anywhere on planet Earth had released that statement yesterday about essentially obliterating an entire nation, then most people would understandably have been up in arms. But yesterday I didn't follow that line. I followed the line that this is Trump meeting Tehran, meeting the minds of Islamists on a similar level. That's essentially what he was doing. Fast forward 12 hours, and we are 12 hours and 7 minutes since the ceasefire, or since the warning. It was 1 a.m. our time. And what Donald Trump set out to do at the moment has been achieved. Now, you can say, well, yeah, he's blasted and bombed a whole country to get to this stage. Not quite, but I take the point. But what he set out to do yesterday has been achieved. Now, Starmer is pitching up in the Middle East. This is all coordinated stuff. What can Starmer contribute to the ceasefire? I know it's a kind of laughable thing when you say it. 0344 499 1000. The White House knew Starmer was going. The White House endorsed Starmer's visit. It's choreographed, it's deliberate, it's meant to be happening, but will it work? Chloe Dobbs is with us, political commentator of some note, I should say. Because, you know, we do speak to some people who are political commentators who are not of note.
OK, well,
I'm just putting it out there, you know. You are of note.
I'm honoured that you think I am of note.
Well, it's a joyous day, of course, to be British, because our own Prime Minister is about to solve peace in the Middle East.
As if. Yeah. As if he's probably just going
to
sit awkwardly in the corner. What was it, one of the last times he went to one of these peace conferences, Trump sort of, remember, he brought him up and then he sort of shunned him away, and Starmer looked all embarrassed.
It was a bit awkward,
That was the one viral clip that came out of it. I'm sure that will be probably something similar this time. I mean, look, it would be good if Starmer can help the peace process by at least saying, if Iran decides to escalate again, if they are the ones who provoke, you know, heating up in the Middle East in future, that we will back the US to... and we won't let you get away with anything. But I highly doubt he's going to do that. He's probably going to stick to his line of, no, we're not getting involved at all.
Well, I mean, Starmer would say this is, you know, what's happening now is where we should be. And this is where diplomatic brains like Starmer's, I really can't do this with a straight face. I'm sorry.
Did you say?
I know. I'm just stepping on all the landmines here.
I think if you knocked on his head, it might be a little bit hollow.
Amazing political operators like see, it doesn't work.
No,
does it?
No.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Geniuses of our nope, that doesn't work.
No.
So Keir Starmer has gone out there. He's pitched up. He's going to be there in the Middle East, meeting all the different characters in this. Will he be pivotal to peace? Will he be the warm-up guy for Donald Trump, who takes the Nobel Peace Prize?
Absolutely not. I mean, Keir Starmer, if he's lucky, the best he's going to get out of this is a flute of champagne and some canapes from whatever reception is put on.
Yeah.
I mean, we've clearly...
Do you think ISIS sends champagne?
Well, they don't drink, do they?
Nice bottle of Moët for you, Mr. Starmer.
I'm not sure that he will get that. He might be disappointed by the reception there. I mean, Starmer, he loves going to all of these international conferences because people tend to treat him better than they do at home. When he goes into Downing Street, you've got people heckling him outside, calling him Starmer the Farmer Harmer and whatnot.
Yeah. His safe space, Starmer's safe space, is the tarmac at Heathrow Airport when he's crossing it to get on a plane. It's where he feels mostly at home. Exactly. When he's leaving the country he runs.
I think from a selfish perspective as Brits, what we can hope for out of this is that Starmer manages to have some conversations with Donald Trump that sort of take the heat out of what's been quite a dramatic few weeks with the special relationship falling apart, because what's been very clear with our complete inability to get any ships out the harbour that are ready for action is that we are nowhere near ready to defend ourselves if we ever needed to defend ourselves, and we need to make sure that the Americans are there to help us if we were in need. And at the moment it looks like Trump would be probably not so willing to help us after the failure of Starmer to help him how he wants to. He seems pretty peeved off, Trump, about that. So let's just hope that whether it's just by simply talking nicely to each other, but or more likely by offering at least some sort of backup support in the Middle East, that he can you know, steady the special relationship at a time when it's quite fractured.
Do you know what I can't work out, Chloe? My contact on Capitol Hill, who's not insignificant in terms of knowing the movers and the shapers and the players and all the rest of it, tells me constantly that Donald Trump says a lot on screen. This is the sentence I can't get my head around. Donald Trump really likes Keir Starmer.
Wow. I mean, it seemed like that.
And I'm there I'm going, get out of here. There's no synergy there, is there? So you look at Trump, what he's about, his backstory, who he is, how he operates, and you look at Keir Starmer. I mean, the very antitheses of Donald Trump. I know they often say opposites attract, but I'm struggling with that. She is absolutely adamant that this is a relationship. They talk on the phone, they do Sudoku together in the evenings.
Oh, God.
They've got it all going on.
I find it hard to believe. I mean, I was quite impressed, I think most people were, by how Starmer managed to butter up Trump at the beginning of his premiership. But it seems like that has quickly fallen apart. I mean, remember at the beginning, Trump was so buttered up by Starmer that he was willing to give the green light on the Chagos deal, even though it was a completely suicidal nonsense deal. Of course, he's now realised how terrible that is, and he's changed his tune on that and many other things.
It's gone quiet. Chagos has gone quiet.
And at the beginning, Trump was willing to accept Starmer's reassurances that we had a hold on stopping the boats in the UK, we had a hold on honouring free speech in the UK, and he just sort of nodded his head, got his letter welcoming him for a sleepover with the King. He quite liked that. But if I'd be surprised if now they are best friends still. Trump seems... I know everything he says publicly on Truth Social is quite exaggerated, but I highly doubt he sees Starmer as a really good guy after
there is. I mean, he's
failing to back him up in the Middle East.
But this trip to the Middle East has, with Starmer-based endorsement, like if you want to send someone out there, send Keir. Really? Really? I mean,
he'll probably mess it up. It's probably better if he's not there, to be honest.
What about the wider question, though? I mean, we know what happened yesterday. This statement on Trump's Truth Social came out saying, you know, a whole civilization is about to be wiped out. You know, very sad, but it's going to happen. And no one has ever seen anything like that coming from a leader. You know, you tend not to even hear that from the ISIS boys, but this was absolutely right up there. Now, it was unconventional, it was disturbing, it was meant to be disturbing. It's not, it doesn't go with usual protocol. It was, you know, shooting from the hip, unpresidential. People had all of these things. And I said yesterday, you know, what he's trying to do is meet the mood of the very people he's dealing with. Essentially a medieval death cult. They get language like that, they understand that, and it has worked. It
has worked. I mean, when Trump...
I know it's early doors, but it's worked.
Yes, when Trump writes these crazy Truth Social posts, you shouldn't just ignore them. There is some method to the madness, but you shouldn't take it literally, because in every single negotiation, the way that Trump gets what he wants and forces the other side's hand is by threatening something really serious, whether it's completely insane tariffs or, in this case, the obliteration of the civilian infrastructure in Iran. And of course, it did. The problem is, when Trump does this, a lot of people, and also including the markets, often panic and take it literally. But those of us that have studied Trump for long enough know this is highly unlikely to actually happen, and he's just threatening the worst. And as you say, he's talking in the same tune as these Islamists, who quite happily would see Israel and America wiped off the face of the earth. Don't forget that these are the people who every single day chant death to America, death to Israel.
Yeah. Well, there's the question. I mean, firstly, can Donald Trump solve it? Has Donald Trump played a blinder on this? Has this panned out exactly in the way that he wanted? And will it be lasting? 0344 499 1000. And the question, what can Starmer contribute to this ceasefire? Your thoughts on that as well. Let's move, Chloe, to this story. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch vowing to ban doctors' strikes, accusing the British Medical Association of betraying the patients as junior doctors began this 6-day walkout. If Health Secretary Wes Streeting had been telling the truth when he said this, we wouldn't have these issues. Have a listen.
We've ended the junior doctor strikes, which means we go into this winter for the first time in years now without having to contend with strikes.
There it is. We've ended it. No more strikes. And then, half an hour later, more strikes.
He clearly hasn't heard that famous old saying, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
What did he think when he said that? I mean, that was a slightly daft thing for him to say, because you could never be he could never have been that sure at the time.
I don't know exactly what was going through his head, but he certainly had short-term thinking, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He desperately wanted to do something right after Labour Party came into power to quickly say, we've got the NHS back on track, and he saw that as the quick and easy way to do it. But with this, and like with many parts of Labour's policy since coming in, it's been spend first, grow the economy later, but that is not sustainable in any way.
Nope.
And hence, of course, they've spent a load of money. They've said, oh gosh, we haven't got enough money, we've got to put taxes up. Then, of course, that has limited economic growth, which means there's less money coming in the coffers. And now when they're asking for more money to have another big wage increase, now we just don't have it. And of course, they're wreaking havoc. And I think I would agree with Kemi Badenoch that we should stop doctors from striking, because if you're going to stop the police, the army, etc., from doing this on the basis that these are crucial services that save lives, well, I mean, the same applies to the NHS, doesn't it? And these people, they agree to a Hippocratic oath, of course, to do the best for patients, and patients will die as a consequence of these strikes, very sadly. But I would say to the Tories, you know, they had havoc with doctors striking before Wes Streeting came in. Why didn't they ban doctors from striking whilst they were still in office?
Indeed. This in from Elaine, who says the Gulf countries have heavily criticised Starmer for not helping to defend them. The man really has no shame to head over there now. It's all basically done. I hope they make their feelings known to him on this trip. Yeah, well, we'll see how that pans out. He's going to be pressing the flesh over there in the Middle East like Billy-O over the coming days. Can he contribute anything to this peace process? And has Donald Trump began the process of earning a Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, it sounds like a bizarre question amidst the backdrop of war, but he threatened hell last night. They relented, and now there's a ceasefire. That would be many people's definition of a plan coming together. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royal tea from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the Royal Tea from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is Talk, 22 minutes after 1 o'clock. We've still got Chloe Dobbs with us, looking at the big stories of the day. Your response is on the way. You know the number. You can message 87222. Angela Rayner's workers' rights police will now have the power to force their way into businesses, seize documents and arrest people under Labour's new employment laws. Man alive. At least we know the businesses that are super on board with this plan. Let's hear that full list named by our very own Ange when she was asked.
And we spoke to many businesses. They've been working with us to get the Employment Rights Bill forward.
Can you name a company, a few of them, that have welcomed these proposals?
Well, we've worked with many of the companies.
Name a few.
I've worked with so many of them, and they've very much welcomed the work that we've been doing on making sure that people...
You must be able to name a few, because I can name all the companies, the recruitment companies, Hayes, Manpower, Randstad. They've signed the letter. Which are the companies that have welcomed your employment rights?
Well, like I say, I've spoke to many companies. We've had many roundtables with them from
Will you get me a list of those companies, and then we can call them and say, do you welcome Angela Rayner's proposals?
Well, there's been many of the companies that we've worked with, like I say, so many of them.
Oh my God, that is it's so painful. She would have known the minute she said that. Oh God, I'm going to be asked which ones now. It's like the classic cul-de-sac for a politician to go down. And she couldn't name a single company.
So embarrassing.
That's because there isn't one, Ange.
I know, and even if there is one, the reason why that clip was so viral and very telling is because even if she's spoken to 5 businesses, the vast majority of businesses across the UK say nobody is listening to us. They are crying out, saying, you say you want to get young people working, but we're having to fire all of our young people, for example, and we can't give people a chance who are 18 and want to get their first job because you've put up the minimum wage so high, you've put in all of this red tape with this workers' rights bill. You've got... Of course, you've got national insurance going up, you've got energy bills going up, you've got all these taxes going up. I mean, it is... to simply survive and stay open as a pub now is near impossible. We had so many, and I feel like businesses have had such a hard time. They are the backbone of the economy. They are the ones who create jobs, but they're viewed by the government, and I think by this workers' rights bill, as the demons. They're the bad people because they have, I think a lot of these socialists, they have this twisted worldview where they think that anyone who owns a business is just Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, right? Where they've got all this spec.
So it's the same as the landlords and the tenants.
Yeah, and when actually it's the small to medium-sized businesses that make up the vast majority of businesses in this country.
Correct.
And I think that's a great part of our British culture, that we have so many great independent businesses. You go down an American high street, it's all the exact same. You know, it's Walmart, it's Dunkin' Donuts, it's Walgreens. It's the same. Every high street looks the same. Whereas here we have that uniqueness in Britain of having these lovely independent small businesses. And it seems as though this government is doing everything that they can to close those down. They had a hard enough time during COVID. Many businesses shut down. Those that did survive, at least do the best that you can to help them flourish and create more jobs and to help workers in that way. The way to help workers is like that. It's not by giving a whole load of red tape and extra taxes for these businesses.
I mean, the idea that the police can show up and arrest you. I mean, what
this does is, she's created a Fair Work Agency, which is a group of people who are not coppers, but they are basically given the powers of coppers. They are allowed to storm in to private premises, go through all your files,
like traffic wardens,
and they can turn up to not just an Amazon warehouse, to just a little pub, a little korma shop, and treat you like some sort of criminal. And it gives trade unions the right to storm premises and to hold strikes with the support of something like only 2% of employees, rather than it having to be like the majority of employees wanting to stage a walkout. There are some things in this bill which I think many people would agree with, and same goes with the bill for tenants' rights. But if you, I mean, just look at the sheer length of it, you see that there is a heck of a lot of red tape there, and very much of it is unnecessary, going way too far, and demonising, in this case, businesses, and in the tenants' case, demonising landlords, when actually both sides need to be listened to.
Yeah. The other big news, of course, today is that Channel 4 have scrapped the Celebrity Bake Off show featuring Scott Mills.
Oh no! Well,
we're doing 3 hours on it after this.
I watched the Peep Show Bake Off.
Who have we got
special.
On for this?
That was quite fun, actually.
Scott Mills is going to be on. No, he's not. Obviously.
I'm not sure how it will rate if Scott Mills is on.
Well, probably rather well in the strange world we live in, but who knows?
Yeah, because we'll all be watching it with popcorn.
Yeah. Let's just a quick, I know oil is your big area of expertise, Chloe. Oil prices making a stunning plunge. Of course, what we really want to see, we can talk about barrels of oil and what crude is doing at the moment. What you want to see is that number on the forecourt going down to like £1.20 a litre, not £1.90 or £2 or £2.10 in some places for diesel.
I know, I used up quite a lot of petrol over the weekend, and I thought yesterday, oh, I better go fill it up, and I thought, actually, no, let's see if Trump can pull off a miracle first, and then I will wait. Yep. And I bet you when I go tomorrow that's going to go down. I think just like over the past week or so, it's gone up from, at least where I am, from 129 to 154 for a litre of petrol.
Indeed.
Which is pretty steep.
It's absolutely steep, and it's crippling for many people.
Yeah.
Particularly, we were talking yesterday about fish and chip shops and trawlers spending 10 grand a month to go out to catch cod.
It's insane.
Twice what it was costing before. Lots of other areas, though, in terms of the knock-on effect of
baked
war.
beans and tea, apparently. The Brits are going to be...
Tea, coffee, tinned tuna, like you say, baked beans as well, big increase. This is fertiliser supplies as well, which have caused havoc. Tea, coffee, I'd imagine you're not a tea or a coffee person. I imagine you waking up with a glass of water. Because you're quite healthy, you know, you care about what you eat.
I sometimes have coffee.
OK. Tuna?
No.
Don't like tuna?
It's like cat food.
Cremation? Oh, sorry, I thought you were about... I thought it was a brand of tuna, the way you said that.
No,
cremation tuna.
Apparently the Strait of Hormuz chaos means that funerals are going to be more expensive now.
Funerals will be more expensive. Classic crematorium now costing $4,620. That's a line of work to be in, isn't it?
If you're going to die, make sure you just wait. Make sure you just wait a few more weeks.
£5 grand to dig a hole.
Come down. You're not allowed to die this week, anybody.
Don't die this week.
Because you're going to cost your relatives a lot of
money. And
don't
want to buy a PlayStation before you die.
It's gone up 90 quid in a week.
90
it's
quid.
Crazy.
A 19% increase, citing global economic pressures from memory chips. Although Sean Keach, who's head of technology at The Sun, told us that actually was nothing to do with the war. It was because...
It's an excuse.
Yeah, it was because data centres are buying up all the chips.
Yeah, but also...
There ain't no chips. There's no chips for fish and chips, because there's no fish. There's no chips for PlayStations.
Yeah, that's...
Because the AI centres have eaten all the chips.
There's that. There's also the fact that all these AI data centres are very energy intensive, which a lot of people forget because they think all of this stuff on the internet is just in a magical cloud somewhere. Yeah. But it requires a lot of energy. And also, I mean, that's going to be a big sticking point for the UK's economic policy going forwards, because Rachel Reeves is insisting she wants all these AI data centres and AI boom, but she needs cheap energy to do that, and Ed Miliband won't seem to let her.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre thing, isn't it? A politician would always latch on to this AI data centre. It sounds like you're really on it, you're progressive, you know what you're doing. But there is another... I mean, it makes you want to put a tinfoil hat on, really, with the data centre, because you look at these things are the size of, like, 100 Wembley stadiums, and there's loads in this country. We have more, I think, as a proportion than many other countries across the continent of Europe. And you look at them and you think, do we need them? Do we actually need this technology?
Well, I mean, AI,
so that you can create a funny video of your mate riding a gazelle.
I think it's used for a bit more than that.
I appreciate it's used for a bit more than that, but do we need it? It's like the driverless car. Do we need the driverless car?
I think if you're not on the AI bandwagon, you're going to be behind economically.
I mean, I'm ahead of the curve on this stuff, generally speaking, because I'm a technology whiz kid. However, I used to take a step back and say, what are we not doing fast enough that we need to do faster? I know it's good for, you know, health issues, legal issues. There are areas where AI can be incredibly beneficial. But do you need all of those data centres in every country at that level to make this whole thing work?
I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be an AI expert, but I think you'll find that in so many of the things that you do, AI is involved in a way that you don't understand. So, I mean, for example, when you're, say, using a self-checkout, for example, I'm sure that that's got, you know, weaving AI into the technology for that, but you don't necessarily recognise how it's used. I mean, it seems like AI is being used in almost everything, and that's at the moment, if a company mentions the fact that they're going to start using AI, you'll notice that their stock price suddenly skyrockets, and all the investors absolutely love it, because that's seen as the necessary thing to move forward as a company in any area these days, it would seem. So,
indeed.
But a lot of the AI data centres, they're struggling to get the planning permission at the moment because they're so energy intensive, so they've got to try and find ways to...
Have you seen the size of them? It's like almost on the back of some people's houses.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, so one idea to get permission for them is you use the heat from the AI data centre to grow crops underground, where you can control the environment, so in the dark, and just have controlled lights, controlled heat, so you haven't got the weather wreaking havoc like we do with the farmers' fields elsewhere in the country. So that's one idea.
Shall we finish on a random fact?
Go on.
Margaret Thatcher died 13 years ago today.
Oh no.
Okay.
What a great lady. And I won't call her, because every time there's a certain anniversary, you have certain people who come out and say that, the witch is dead, thank God. But I think regardless of what side...
It's the sort of thing Angela Rayner would wear on a
I think
T-shirt.
regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, you can all recognise this is a woman who had tenacity and conviction, which is very much missing from our politicians today.
That's exactly what is missing. Chloe, thank you very much. That's Chloe Dobbs, AI expert and political commentator, with us on the programme. Over to you in a few moments. Some great voices coming on that question. What can Keir Starmer contribute to the ceasefire? And is Donald Trump now worthy at least of the consideration of a Nobel Peace Prize? 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is Talk. 0344 499 1000 is where you'll find us. Lots of messages coming through. One here just found out where Starmer is going. Iran want a trade deal first. Yeah. I'm sure he's the man to do it. This, of course, is the 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the US announced last night. Keir Starmer welcoming the news with a visit to Gulf leaders. US President Donald Trump confirming an agreement on Truth Social, stating he would suspend the bombing and attacks on Iran for a period of 2 weeks. A breath of relief for some who thought nuclear war might be on the cards. Let's firstly get a word with Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Afternoon to you, Isabel. I mean, ceasefire, the term ceasefire, comes with some caveats. It's not all areas of the Middle East to start with.
Well, that's right. I mean, the UAE Ministry of Defence has just put out a release talking about how many missiles or drones have been intercepted in the last 24 hours. And there was, in fact, an alert within minutes of Donald Trump's announcement of the ceasefire. So it's a very delicate thing. I mean, this war, some have said, well, you know, this ceasefire is only between Iran and the US. It's not between Iran and other Gulf nations. But the other Gulf nations only got drawn in when US started attacking. So look, I think we're all still struggling to know what this actually is going to mean. Is it that in 2 weeks' time, there have been lots and lots of negotiations and the ceasefire becomes a permanent deal? Or is it that this thing just doesn't ever really count for that much? I'm concerned that Donald Trump is talking about a joint, kind of like a joint venture with Iranians to start charging tolls to go through the Straits of Hormuz. That is a total upending of the international kind of norms about freedom of navigation. I mean, where does that end? Are we going to start doing a joint venture with the French to charge people for going through the channel?
Yeah, I mean, it's that bit was a kind of curious element to this story, and the negotiating with this new regime that we hear about is not really a new regime. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, Trump seems, by the way, I'm generally a supporter of Trump, generally, but he seems to think that just by saying things, that makes them real. I don't know where the evidence is of this spectacular regime change that he's talking about. There hasn't been any regime change, except insofar as the Americans have very skillfully picked off and killed some of the worst sort of figures in the regime, but they've all been replaced by similarly awful figures in the regime, as evidenced by the daily hangings and bloody executions of young teenagers.
What about the essence, though, of what's happened in the last 24 hours? Donald Trump puts out this post vowing essentially to destroy an entire civilization. It's going to happen. Most of us never seen anything like this. I mean, it was extraordinary. It was horrendous to read. The argument was that he was merely meeting the minds of people who think and speak in this kind of way, and therefore, you know, it's only by using this sort of tone that you might get a result. And then fast forward 12 hours from when he posted this, he got a result. So has he in effect won something here?
Well, did he get a result, or did he just decide not to go ahead? I'm not really sure what the result was. I mean, I don't know how many ships have passed freely through the Straits of Hormuz today without having to pay a massive ransom, but I suspect the answer is big fat zero. There's still an awful lot of metal flying around the sky. We still have no idea how this ultimately plays out. The whole of the region has been completely destabilized. Economies have been hammered. I happen to think that Trump's endeavor was the right thing to do in principle, but as always with these things, the carrying out of it becomes a lot more complicated than it looks on paper.
Just a final point, Isabel, because any concerns you might have had about a peace process have now been addressed. Keir Starmer is pitching up in the Middle East. So what is he going to bring to the table, do you sense? Is Starmer going to be the man that solves the problem?
Well, I think you know the answer to that question, don't you, Ian? And so do
it's worth throwing it out there, even with a smile on my face.
Viewers. But Keir Starmer is an embarrassment to us on the international stage. I don't know what allies he has really, except within the kind of Brussels cabal. He is not liked across the Middle East. He's not seen as a reliable ally. No wonder. Where has the UK been in any of this, helping historic allies? Absolutely nowhere. We've got one ship that's limping back to port, having suffered a mechanical problem. And obviously Trump has mocked and sneered at us, and as well he might.
Isabel, thank you. Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Let's speak to Peter Oborne, the journalist and broadcaster, author of How Trump Thinks, His Tweets and the Birth of a New Political Language. Well, Peter, good afternoon to you. We've certainly got a new political language, and that was best, I suppose, demonstrated by that post 24 hours ago talking, as I mentioned to Isabel there, about the obliteration of obliterating an entire civilization. Unless there's a ceasefire, and then, you know, you fast forward and there's a ceasefire. So that's a result for Donald Trump, is it not? Trebles all round, Peter.
Well, the US president, who, by the way, embarked on an illegal war along with Israel, illegal, Nuremberg says that a war of aggression is the ultimate war crime, and that's what he and the United States and Israel did when they launched this mad thing and terrible thing which they launched. And then, I mean, we've had a whole series of deranged statements, as you were pointing out, by the US president. The most recent one was yesterday afternoon when he made this genocidal warning against that he was going to obliterate or erase Iran. I mean, it's utterly irresponsible, in itself a war crime to incite that kind of violence from the US president. And within 12 hours, we then have this announcement of a ceasefire, which looks like surrender by the United States. No, it didn't work. I mean, he's given the Iranians pretty well everything that they wanted. The control of Hormuz, they can still have their ballistic weapons. There's no attempt to get at the uranium, etc. And so it looks like surrender by the United States.
But there is a ceasefire. I mean, yesterday there wasn't a ceasefire.
That's wonderful.
Today there is.
I'm in Jerusalem.
Donald Trump is on the first steps to the Nobel Peace Prize, surely.
Just to bring to an end a conflict that he himself started. Yes, that is, I suppose,
it's one way to get one, Prize, isn't it?
Look, I cannot tell you what a relief it is. I mean, we went to bed here in Jerusalem. There was these alarms about bombs. People were talking. Israelis, I know about. They're talking about sort of filling up their houses with water. They're thinking, it's really going to the really desperate times. And suddenly, there looks like that this nightmare may be over. Now, we mustn't be too confident. I mean, feels to me, they're trying to sabotage this. They're pounding Lebanon as we speak. And they're not, the Pakistan, who played this remarkable role in bringing about the ceasefire, said that Lebanon was part of the arrangement. Yeah. And it seems Israel is disagreeing. So it feels like Israel is trying to not to allow this to happen. But it's a blow to Netanyahu.
Yes, I sense there's a divide, a chasm almost, that is now being irredeemably created, perhaps, between Trump and Netanyahu. Who knows? They're meant to be buddies.
Yeah, but also domestically here in Israel, he's well, actually, I'm in occupied East Jerusalem, but in Israel nearby, domestically, he is getting real flack from his own side for allowing this to happen and not being part of the solution.
So in summary, Peter, you're sensing that this isn't really a ceasefire. This is just they've stopped nightly attacks, although they hadn't always been.
No, that's not what I was saying.
But this is a veneer of a ceasefire. Is that it?
No, I don't think so. It feels to me that this may well be the end of it. I think Trump's had enough, and that he wants peace, and if he tries to go back to war, which he's done twice already, remember, he will. The Iranians will go back, and it'll all get much worse. The Hormuz will be blocked again, or I don't know how much it's reopened today, but it'll be blocked. You'll go back to plunging stock markets, soaring oil prices, mass unemployment throughout the West. Good luck to you, people watching GMTV, talkTV, if you want to keep your job. You know, that is the world which we were confronting this time yesterday. And so let's hope and pray there's a ceasefire and that the US president, who is mentally deranged by the looks of things, doesn't change his mind yet again.
We will see. He speaks well of you, Peter, I should say. Thank you. Thank you as ever, Peter Oborne, journalist and broadcaster. He is the author of How Trump Thinks, His Tweets and the Birth of a New Political Language. Let's speak with Susan Platt. Susan, former Chief of Staff for Joe Biden in the Senate. Also author of that recent political thriller, The Elusive Peacock, which is flying off the shelves. Susan, good to have you with us. You join us live in Virginia today. Nice to have you on board. I would imagine you probably agree with a fair amount of our last guest's comments.
Nice to be with you, Ian. Yes, absolutely, I concur with most of what he said. I think we all, the entire world, let loose with a collective sigh of relief from this erratic and chaotic threats of our current president. I have my own list of 10 things. Unlike the Iranian ceasefire plan, my 10 things from what happened in the last 40 days is the U.S. spent billions of dollars. The U.S. lost 13 American soldiers. The U.S. bombed children's school, killing many children. The U.S. has made it that 3 million Iranians are displaced. The cost of gasoline in the U.S. has dramatically risen. Number 6, Iran has increased control of the Strait of Hormuz. Number 7, the American president threatened war crimes by suggesting he would bomb the civilization out of existence. Number 8, a theocratic aggressive regime is still in place. Number 9, a 2-week ceasefire with Iranian plans and terms of agreement are unclear and could collapse at any moment. And number 10, and to me as an American, is very important. The world has called into question Americans' current leadership and stability with a president who made wild threats with no strategic vision or goal accomplished and made us look like we were living in crazy land. With Trump's reckless talk and actions have caused an unforgivable stain on America.
What about number 11, though, Susan, which many people would say, today there is peace, yesterday there wasn't. That's a result.
There is, but with this president, you never know what's going to happen next, and that's the problem. That's the stain on America. I was in Switzerland 10 days ago, and from every person I talked to, there's fear. There's fear that what is America going to do next? We cannot rely on America. And we used to be this stable place that would back all democracies and have a plan and work with others. No more. No,
but this was a region, of course, that for not just a few years, you know this, throughout the entirety of your lifetime, my lifetime, our predecessors' lifetime, nobody has got a handle on this thing. It's been allowed to grow and fester under various administrations, European administrations, American administrations, largely been left alone. Your former head honcho, Joe Biden, didn't really say too much about it. I'm sure there's an argument to be had on that, but you take the broad point. Everybody just let it carry on. And, of course, we know that Iran is a dangerous place, the greatest sponsor of state terrorism anywhere on planet Earth, whether you're talking about Hamas, whether you're talking about what is happening in Lebanon, whether you're talking about the Houthis, whatever. It's a basket case. Somebody needed to shake it up. This might not be perfect, but we've now got to a place where perhaps we've never been before. And it looks ugly. It might look erratic. It might, to many people, look irresponsible, as you've outlined, Peter Oborne, our last guest, outlined. But this could be the journey to peace. Does that sound crazy to you?
Yes. No question that the Iranians are, and their government are bad guys, horrible guys, no question. But, you know, if my former boss had been president right now and he said or did what Donald Trump has said and done, 25th Amendment would have been acted 25 days ago. This is not creating stability.
This is the amendment to get rid of a president, for those who are unfamiliar with that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, from all reports, even the Secretary of Defense said changing a regime is farcical. Even the CIA director said that. So, you know, unless you have a real plan set forth, an objective. Now, Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, just went on television and said everything's accomplished. Well, I'm not sure what's accomplished, except for what I just laid out here. There was no, they kept changing what was a mission. They kept changing what were the goals, what were the objectives. so that the American people don't know. All they know is that we're suffering.
Susan, just a final point. Do you concur then with the belief that this is it now for Trump? He's just going to walk away and claim this as a victory, and everything else just continues?
Well, the problem is we don't know. We don't know with this man. He's erratic, he's irresponsible, he's a bully, and if someone says something bad about him, who knows what he'll do, what he'll fire off. I think that's the point, and that's what I heard when I was in Europe this past 10 days.
Susan, thank you for your time. Susan Platt, clearly not a Donald Trump supporter, but then she was former chief of staff for Joe Biden, so that kind of makes some sense. Thank you to her. Over to you. I see this as a bigger picture. There's a lot of personalising going on here from our last two guests. Thoughts on this? But even Isabel Oakeshott was perhaps, you know, tacitly still scratching her head on where this goes next for Donald Trump. 0344 499 1000.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is Talk. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to some calls and comments. Gary in Bolton, is it Bolton or Bolton, says, I see Peter Oborne is suffering from Trump derangement syndrome too. They should have been dealt with 30 years ago. But Trump needs to go the whole hog and finish the regime. You see, the problem that we have here is that what Trump has done, or what has happened in the last 24 hours, you can go, OK, Trump is on first base. If, however, as Oborne contends, that Trump now just walks away from it, no regime change, Iran just carries on, then what has the last month been about? And what does it mean going forward? Some might say, well, you've got an emboldened Iran, but it's just got all its buildings smashed in. Carl's in Liverpool. What are you making of it all, Carl? Is Keir Starmer the man to save the place?
No, absolutely not.
It's a funny question, though, isn't it? We enjoyed talking about that in the office.
It is a funny question because this is a man that said that we're not involved in the war and told Donald Trump that he didn't want to be involved. So I have no understanding why he's gone. We might end up paying reparations, Ian, who knows? You know, it's just... I don't know, every day this guy seems to do something different and nothing for the country, our country, you know? He keeps polishing his halo as if he's some sort of political god when no one really likes him. And while we suffer, everything's gone up, immigration's look how lovely the weather is. You know, he should be back here trying to sort our problems out.
Is he? What? I don't know what point he's trying to make. All I do know is that he wouldn't have gone there without some kind of permission, probably, from the White House. They would be aware of him visiting. So is this kind of choreographed that Starmer goes in, presses the flesh, shakes a few hands, has a cup of tea, and smooths the way for the next phase? Or is that overstating? He's just arrived, by the way. He's literally just arrived in Saudi Arabia as we speak. So he stepped down on Saudi turf. This is his first port of call on his Middle East visit.
Yeah, well, obviously it must be a scripted visit if he's got permission and stuff. But I don't see what good it does, because I'm quite sure that some of the Saudi states don't really like this man. You know, given that he was late to arrive, we sent a ship that didn't get there, and now this ship's broken. Yeah, the whole thing's been a farce on his behalf. You know, he hasn't acted like a strong leader. I understand he didn't want to get us involved and use our runways, but we have a duty as a close ally to stick together with America, because they're our defence in the end. We're too weak to defend ourselves. God forbid if we did get attacked. We haven't got the men and women to defend this country.
Well, do you know, I watched that Blair documentary the other week, and I'm not a Tony Blair supporter or fan, but he said in that documentary, you know, we had a choice back in the day with the Gulf War. We either back America or we don't back America. He said it's a no-brainer. And I thought, isn't it interesting that Blair said that? Starmer wouldn't go anywhere near a statement like that.
No, he wouldn't. Well, we've seen what type of people he wants to appease, and it's not the British people. And standing together with allies doesn't seem to be the thing he wants to do, other than the ones in the European sector. You know, the man doesn't want us. I mean, he's trying to into Europe again. It says a lot of the man when he won't stand.
Yeah, I know. He loves all of that, doesn't he? And he loves the international stuff. Just in terms, though, Carl, of where we're at and with Donald Trump, I mean, a war was started, and there's a sense a war hasn't been completed. If Trump just walks away now, does that change your view of the American president?
No, I think he did say that he would to get regime change in, but that hasn't happened yet.
Regime change, uprising of the people, the new beginning. None of that has happened. So if he walks away, then that would be terrible, wouldn't it?
Oh, of course, yeah. I think because the job's not done, is it really? He's gone in and turned a few stones over and got rid of quite a lot of the crazy mullahs and stuff. But I think what he has to do is stay on course, get what he needs to get done, stabilise the situation, and then when everything's rolled. But this could be years, months, years down the line. There's a lot of moving parts in this now, and because there's just 2 week break.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did. Look, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an optimist on these things, Carl. But I do wonder that it looks chaotic. I don't think it can look any other way. It certainly looks incomplete. But is this a kind of first-based approach to something bigger? We will watch and see. I know that's a useless phrase. Carl, I've got to move because the news is upon us. Thank you, mate, for starting us off on this one. 0344 499 1000. Is the Nobel Peace Prize coming Donald Trump's way? And what can Keir Starmer contribute to this ceasefire? He's literally just touched down on Saudi soil. Thoughts on that all coming on the other side of the news at 2, which is next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So where are we in the world peace stakes? Welcome back, by the way. We heard now 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the US announced last night. Keir Starmer's just arrived in Saudi to press the flesh of various Middle Eastern leaders. Donald Trump confirmed the agreement on Truth Social, saying they're suspending bombing and attacks of Iran for 2 weeks. A breath of relief for some who thought nuclear war was on the cards. What can Starmer contribute to this, please? 0344 499 1000. As a result, however, oil prices have significantly dropped. That will be seen as a win for Donald Trump. He's announced this ceasefire, and what follows, of course, is the good news. Oil is a lot cheaper. The reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Everything is looking good and tickety-boo, apparently. Has Donald Trump paved the way for that Nobel Peace Prize? Crude oil, by the way, has plummeted 18% overnight. Elsewhere, the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, has vowed to outlaw strikes by doctors. She's condemned the British Medical Association, saying it was betraying the patients that its members swore to serve. Do you support the Tory leader on this point? We'll speak about that in just a moment. Loads to get through in this section. A couple of ways to get in touch. You can phone or voice note on 0344 499 1000, or you can message 87222. This comes in from Trevor in Harrow. Says, Ian, all your so-called expert contributors have missed one point with Trump. This was the best opportunity ever to get rid of rid the world of one of the most barbaric governments who have spread fear everywhere. In my view, they are so stupid that their hatred of Trump has made them lose their minds. Now Iran will see this as a win and spread their propaganda and ideology everywhere. And I get everything Trevor's just said. The bit where the question mark arises is getting rid of one of the most barbaric governments, because at the moment that barbaric government still exists. In fact, the son of the former Ayatollah, he might be, currently in a coma and sitting somewhere on a bed in several different pieces, apparently, but he's still alive and still running the place. And justice ministers, all the head honchos are pretty much the same. So until we get that, I don't know where this has left us. 0344 499 1000. Can we get a word now on this story? This is the doctor's strikes. I find these deeply disturbing for all the obvious reasons. I'm not alone in that, but how do we get out of it? Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says she'll ban doctor strikes, accusing the BMA of betraying patients, as junior doctors, of course, are now into the second day of that 6-day walkout. If Health Secretary Wes Streeting was telling the truth, though, when he said this, we wouldn't have these issues. Have a listen to him.
We've ended the junior doctor strikes, which means we go into this winter for the first time in years now without having to contend with strikes.
Let's get it. Well, he said that, and then, of course, more strikes. Let's speak with Dr. Philip Lee, former Conservative MP and former Minister as well, and also a GP himself. Philip, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hi, Ian.
Nice to have you with us. I mean, here we are again. There was Wes saying, I'm sure with all good intentions and maybe some misplaced optimism, we've done with the strikes. It's a new beginning. Oh, how wrong he was.
Yeah, because fundamentally what the problem is hasn't really been sorted out. It's still there, which is that doctors allowed themselves to be underpaid for a significant period of time. They're all the organisation that claims to represent their best interests, let it slip. And then they realised late on, oh, right, OK, so the cost of living has gone up. The income of comparable professions has gone up. And now all of our members can't afford to live and don't look forward to a decent future, having been educated and spent so long at university and with significant student debt as a consequence. And so the problem is that the junior doctors find themselves at this stage needing to try to catch up, and the government of the day, and it really, to be honest with you, and it really wouldn't matter which government of the day, which colour, can't afford to give them the money that they perhaps should have had sort of in increments over the last 15 years, shall we say.
In terms of your own circle of colleagues and the
Yeah.
like, Philip, when you speak to other clinicians, whether they're GPs or hospital doctors, junior doctors, resident doctors, whatever the new phrase is, what is the general, I mean, does the view of on the ground, as it were, reflect what is happening with those on strike?
I think that there is an acceptance that juniors' pay hasn't kept in touch with how much it costs to live, particularly in urban places, central London, central Bristol, this sort of thing, and that this isn't really sustainable. I think that the challenge for more senior colleagues, be they GPs or consultants, is that the day-to-day job continues, the care of patients continues. And I have never met a doctor who wants to put any patients at risk, but the doctors are somewhat, and I would say perhaps themselves are to blame in a lot in this, is that they'd rather put themselves in a position where all they can do is down tools. I don't think that banning them from striking is the right step. I mean, I sort of look at this and take a longer term view, Ian, right? In the future, AI is going to have an impact across the board on all sectors. But one thing, and I was recently reading a report by OpenAI, one thing that I don't think is going to be replaced is human-to-human contact, the need for the doctor to communicate and to listen to the patient. And so here we are in a situation where we're taking aim, so to speak, at the junior doctors for fleecing the country, when in fact, actually, if you were trying to think about the health service over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, protecting and nurturing medics should actually be a priority of society. It's the other roles within the NHS, the administration, the management, that are going to be replaced by AI. And what are those people going to do for productive employment? So it seems a bit odd to me, looking to the future, that it's the doctors in the line of vision at the moment, when in fact they're probably the most valuable commodity that society has.
Of course, the arguments against those who strike, and the understandable anger from some, is that, look, there have been pay rises. I hear what you're saying, Philip, that they haven't always kept in pace with other elements of the medical profession, but there have been pay rises, and I know that there is this debate about which inflation measure you use when assessing all of that. But of course, the pay does accelerate greater in that profession as well. The pension element is not a mere bagatelle in this. It's a very crucial element to this. So overarchingly, there's a little bit of jip you got to go through perhaps, and we all deserve a few more quid, and doctors do a great job. They save lives, they save me grandma and all this stuff. But overarchingly, it's still a good profession. It's still incredibly well paid, and the prospects are huge.
I think you'd be challenged on the incredibly well-paid front. I think a newly qualified NHS consultant now pay relative to a contemporary position where you take so many decisions that have such really difficult decisions often, that you would probably argue that maybe it's not Justice Robertson and Doctor in the House anymore. And I think it used to be that you qualified, you worked 3 to 4 days a week in the NHS as a consultant, and you spent a day or so in earning a very decent income in the private sector, and the two balanced. And that was the quid pro quo, that you put up with tough times as a junior, and then you became a consultant, and you did well, okay, with a comfortable existence. I don't think that there are some exceptions, some specialities where that may continue. But generally speaking, consultants are often now in hospital on call in different specialities. The game has changed. The pay hasn't really kept in with equivalent professions. And so I think the profession as a whole has to ask itself about why that is. It perhaps needs to have a conversation about whether the BMA should be representing doctors' best interests, or whether the BMA should continue to try to represent the NHS's best interests. There's been a tension there for many a year. I personally want a doctors' organisation that represents doctors, and I don't think the BMA does that terribly well, which is why we are where we are.
Do you think the BMA are the problem then in this equation? I mean, the BMA are a fairly radical outfit, and people tend to forget, of course, that they're all, years back, their organisation opposed the beginning of the NHS, but that's a whole other story, and I get that's not in context, but it's always worth throwing in.
Well, it's interesting it's evolved like that. I think you're right to make that point. I think that, I personally left the BMA as soon as I possibly could. But maybe because I was a political animal and because I went into a career in politics was where I was likely to go, I perhaps could see that they were not an organisation that played the politics very well, and they were widely derided at Westminster. I mean, it was so often the case, and rather oddly so internally within the Conservative Party in particular, the medical profession was often criticised, something which I couldn't personally understand. I thought, well, the medical profession is actually quite conservative with a small c. This isn't a profession that a Conservative Party should necessarily have an issue with, and yet I used to encounter this, and we've seen evidence of that again today with the leader of the Tories calling for banning doctors from striking.
So, Philip, just a final point, then what is the answer to this? How do we stop the next load of strikes coming? Because as sure as night follows day, I think we're probably going to see it again.
I think, well, look, there's a bigger picture here. I personally have long thought we need a Royal Commission on the provision of healthcare. And I think we need to have a public debate about the provision of healthcare because there are lots of issues which are too long to list here.
Yeah.
And doctors' pay fits within that discussion. To what extent does the society value doctors, and indeed not just the pay, the working conditions, etc.? And I think that's your only solution here. What you're going to get, I suspect, is this going like this, like this, like this. And this sort of ping pong gets us nowhere and doesn't help patients.
Philip, great to have you on. Lovely talking about this. We will speak again, I hope. Dr. Philip Lee, thank you, sir. He's also a former Conservative MP and a former minister, but he is a GP too. His thoughts on it, that cancelling or banning strikes is not the answer. The BMA are not the good guys in this, he also said. Your thoughts on this? And I'm always intrigued as to whether anyone has a direct anecdote, a direct experience of something very bad happening specifically because these guys are on strike, whether it was a cancelled appointment or a deferred appointment that then had that horrendous, the medical knock-on effect that because you were 3 weeks late for this, then the scan didn't happen and therefore XYZ took hold. You know the picture that I'm describing here. If you've literally experienced being at the really troubling end of that, 0344 499 1000. And of course, if you are a striking doctor, would love to hear from you as to your reasons behind it. We read different reports, don't we, of how many people supported a strike, and we often hear that not every bit of action is even put to members. But give us your assessment if that is your line of profession. 0344 499 1000. More comment from you on that issue of Starmer and Trump. Debbie says, Starmer absolutely disgusts me. We're being invaded with rape and murder of women and girls, and he's obliterating our country with taxes. Get back on the plane, Starmer. Face the public. Get onto the streets and look at what you've done. Although, you'd have to say, a lot of the terrible stuff going in the respect that Debbie refers to sort of does predate Starmer as well. Mark's in Stratford, doesn't, no excuse, by the way. Mark's in Stratford, he says, afternoon, Ian, could you please stop saying pressing the flesh and Keir Starmer in the same sentence? It's putting me off his sausage sandwich. Have a nice... I suppose there is a little bit of a about that. What have you been doing? Pressing the flesh. Yeah, there is something touching the cloth about it, isn't there, I suppose? 0344 499 1000. You know what I'm saying. But I hear you, Mark. I will not mention pressing the flesh again. Have you got that? Pressing the flesh is a banned phrase. Let's press more flesh with Phil in Hertfordshire. How are you doing, Phil?
Good afternoon, Ian. Yeah, what a lovely day. What a
beautiful day. This is summer early, but it's only 2 days, then it gets cold and rainy again, so enjoy it.
I know, but it's a start, though, isn't it?
It's a start, yeah. True enough. What are you making of it all?
Well, I think it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're only being told what we're allowed to be told. Yes. We're only seeing what we're allowed to see. And it does, sort of makes me chuckle sometimes when we get our, the experts coming in, well, this is happening and that's happening. It's only their opinion, isn't it? It's only their opinion based on we really don't know exactly what's going on. And again, I'm going to say my opinion. It's interesting that Trump said, look, if you don't open up that straight, I'm just going to obliterate you.
Yeah.
And funny enough, they opened it up, didn't they? So,
well, we await to see the results of what that looks like, whether they've opened it up, whether anything is moving, whether they're charging people to go through what were previously free waters.
Yeah, there could be a curveball in there somewhere, couldn't there?
You know, but we don't know yet. So.
Have to swerve, yeah. But I mean, an interesting perspective is maybe Trump has actually obliterated them, and they're not long because remember they've shut all their internet down.
Yeah.
No one knows what's going on in there, except obviously the Iranians, the Americans, and the Israelis with their intelligence.
You'd like to think so, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he has damaged them that much. And they're showing a bit of face by saying, oh, we've won. But then, if you were so strong, why would you agree to a peace talk?
Do you you see that, but the argument sort of against all of that, and I'm hearing a lot of very, very supportive Trump people say this as well, a plan like obliterating not just Iran, but it's not the people of Iran, the regime of Iran, and changing that regime is something that you do over the course of maybe years, not over the course of a few weeks, and that was the strategic error from the Americans.
It's a gradual thing. I mean, maybe he could have chose his words a bit better. We're going to sort of annihilate your infrastructure, not say directly we're going to take you back to.
Because that's going to be key, isn't it, Phil? It's only going to, we will only be able to go Trump played a blinder when there is regime change.
Indeed. But also what he's got to be very careful of is he doesn't affect the people of Iran, because let's face it, they're the real victims here, aren't they?
Correct.
They're the ones that they're suffering.
Yeah.
And it makes, again, when people say, oh, yeah, well, Trump could be done up for war crimes. Well, they're very good to shout about Trump bringing him to fruition, because of the war crimes. What about what these mullahs have been doing to its people for the last God knows how many years?
Absolutely right. He spoke in their language on that message. And it was disturbing, it was shocking, but it was meant to be, and I'm not, we don't want to see international diplomacy done that way every day of the week, but on this particular point, I can see what he did.
You can't deal with those people, Ian, a diplomatic way. Their idea of diplomacy is totally different from ours. Their brains are wired different. And for some people, some of these politicians and advisors and that lady you had on the Biden chief of staff, they just don't seem to get it. Their brains are wired different. They don't understand the words coming out of their mouth like how we would understand them. Yeah. Therefore, you have to speak on their terms, what they understand, and they butcher their people. That's what they understand.
Indeed. Phil, great call. Really great speaking. Thank you, mate. Phil in Hertfordshire, 0344 499 1000. So much comment on this, because we've got the duality here of, it's such an interesting comparison. It's when you put Trump and Starmer side by side. So Trump said there's a ceasefire, less than 24 hours later, Starmer is mysteriously dispatched to the Middle East. He's starting off in Saudi Arabia. He's mooching around the place, meeting the head honchos of various countries. What does that actually mean? I mean, he's somehow, this sounds like such a bad, twisted line or a joke. Is Starmer going to be pivotal to peace in the Middle East? I mean, come on. I really would start to believe in conspiracy theories if that happened. 0344 499 1000. By way of some light relief, let's give you a chance to win some good cold hard cash. I'm talking £20,000 here. 20,000 long uns. This is a beauty. It's tax-free, by the way. You can win it right here on Talk. 20 grand straight into your own bank account. Do with it whatever you want. Spend it. Have a party. Buy some stuff. Save it. Anything you want. It's entirely up to you. Have a listen to this to find out how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 9th of April 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to The Royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, 0344 499 1000. This in from Brian. It says, Starmer is turning up in the Middle East. What on earth can the world's worst negotiator contribute? The UK will probably end up paying Iran billions. That's Brian in Spain. There'll be something like that. We've come out with a really good deal. We're going to pay them some money. Like we pay the French some money for nothing whatsoever in return. This one from Max. Starmer landed with a case of visas and vote Labour badges and offered houses and free accommodation. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, if that wasn't so profound and kind of understandable as to why Max has said that, it would just be laughed. But you do sort of scratch. And of course, it's not going to happen. But it's a funny thought, given this defines the leaders of our times. This is Colin, who's in Cheltenham. Colin, how are you doing?
Hey, great. Great show as usual.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking
What are your
the call.
thoughts? That's a pleasure. Far away.
Yeah, I was just going to talk to you about the
doctors. And then he disappeared. It's the new show. Where's Colin? We'll get him back. Trevor in Harrow says, all your so-called actors... I think I did read Trevor's. Did I read Trevor's? Yes, I did read Trevor's. Do apologise. Dave in Bristol says, can't believe these statements by Oborn. Illegal war by America and the Israelis. What is his view of the war raged by Iran on Israel and the rest of us? Through terrorism over decades, Iran will still renege on any agreement. They may make with America as they have no respect for the West and regard us as less than human and therefore to be exploited. Bang on. Also, this Democrat Liberal comes out with nothing but criticism, but no sensible or achievable solutions, as with all their presidential non-entities that allowed this atrocious barbaric regime to carry on. What the hell? After 47 years of negotiation, lifting concessions, pouring millions of dollars into Iran, funding their nuclear ambitions, does this Democrat Liberal waffler think the solution is? What does she think the solution is, says Dave in Bristol. Yeah, raising some great points. Very easy to sit there, isn't it, and go, I've got a bit. She said, I've got 10 things that's wrong here. Well, OK, give me 10 things to put it right. You wouldn't get them. We got Colin back in Cheltenham. You mysteriously disappeared on us, Colin. We thought it was a conspiracy theory, but I'm glad you're safe and well.
No, it's bad reception in this area, I'm afraid.
That's all right. No worries. So doctors you wanted to talk about?
It was, yes. It was referenced 2 years ago, in fact, February. Yeah. I said to my wife, can you just drop me down to Cheltenham A&E? Dropped me off and then drove off. Great. But then, didn't
hang around just in case.
No, she didn't. But the shutters were down A&E, so I walked back out again.
I tell you what, there is a sinister sight. The shutters were down at A&E. You don't want to see that.
But unfortunately, because I'd hang on, did I just see that right? So I just turned around, went back in again, and thankfully the nurse noticed me and asked me what was the matter, and just told her, and she did various tests, and she said, look, we need to get you over to Gloucester Royal, which was open. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'll call my wife. She goes, no time for that. Got into an ambulance, taken over. There was a bit of a queue to get in, but I got in more or less straight away.
Good.
And then went to a room, just sat there, and then collapsed. And next thing I knew, by me.
Your line just cut out a little bit there. Did you say you collapsed, Colin?
I collapsed and I had to be revived and resuscitated.
What, literally revived?
I had a widespread pulmonary embolism, which is blood clot in both lungs. So if that nurse hadn't spotted me, I would have gone home and died.
Yeah. So you did technically die and then was revived?
Not brain dead, hopefully, but yeah.
Well, no, I'm sure your missus might argue otherwise, but I take your point.
No, what I'm saying is that with the A&E was actually shut in Cheltenham, and I turned away because of it. And then I said, if a nurse hadn't spotted me and got me over to Gloucester Royal, we wouldn't be talking right now.
That's incredible. And that was as a direct result of strikes?
That wasn't direct results of strikes, yeah.
Wow.
So I wonder who else this has actually happened to.
Yeah, and who would have not, didn't have the encounter with the nurse, and as you rightly say, would have just gone home and that would have been curtains.
Yeah, and then it will be good night.
Yeah.
But,
well, I'm glad it didn't come to that. Thank goodness for the diligent nurse. But no patient in a civilised world like ours, allegedly, should be in that position.
Yeah, and the doctor strike actually put that position. It's a direct result of the doctor strike.
I get it.
And I said, if it was just a luckiest guess, because I actually turned back because I wasn't sure if what I saw was real, because I said oxygen starvation, and secondly, the nurse noticed me. And
thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Colin, listen, your phone line is a bit iffy, but you've got the story out. Thank you for that. I'm glad you made it through, but what a story. Yeah, you want to see shutters you expect to see on the front of the Co-op every now and again, you know, due to staff sickness or something. Not the A&E department. Jason in Wiltshire, back to Starmer, Trump and all matters Middle East. What's going on, Jason? Afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Ian. Thank you for taking the call.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's here we go again. It's Judith Chalmers. Any sort of excuse to get those suitcases out and rake his air miles up again, isn't it?
He's gone. Yeah, he's did more foreign trips than I think. You know, like you say. Well, Judith Chalmers.
Yeah, no,
cultural reference for the kids there.
Well, I actually think he's going to be going over. He is actually going to be the entertainment for this diplomatic smoothing of our relations. I mean, he is going to be completely out of his depth. He's not going to have a clue at what he's doing. I think he's going to be the laughingstock. This is the man that is going to be stood next to Mr. Trump in a few hours, who actually told him he wasn't going to help him in a war. We sent this one boat over which broke down, or it had mechanical issues, should we say, yesterday.
So it got some water issues.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can actually see him doing is him actually saying, yeah, we've managed to pay the Middle East sort of a few $100 million to do this and do that and do this. He's going to do nothing.
I can't for the life of me. I mean, quite genuinely, I'm not just being, you know, deliberately mischievous or anti-Starmer, but I honestly can't think, Jason, of what possible reason Donald Trump would be in the Middle East.
No, I can't. But
quite genuinely, I can't think of a reason why he might be there. Maybe we'll find out, Jason. Keep watching this space or listening to this space, because we might get a bit of breaking news that, you know, Keir Starmer has become the king of Saudi Arabia. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he's taking a gig with the royals out there. Jason, thank you, mate, for that. Jason in Wiltshire, 0344 499 1000. It's 2:30. Don't be going anywhere. Big things on their way. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
We're going straight back to it with your calls and comments shortly. So much coming in on this, from Dr. Strikes to Starmer in the Middle East, Trump's peace deal. What does it all mean? Put it all together. Are we heading for... Oh, we can all breathe nicely now. Breathe out. We thought there was a world war. It's all been alleviated. Is that down to Donald Trump? Will Keir Starmer compound the picture by saving the day? 0344 499 1000. Now let's go back to workers' rights. Labour wants to give Angela Rayner's workers' rights police new powers to storm businesses and seize documents. All the while the Tories plan to block council 4-day weeks. The 4-day week campaign, of course, has found evidence showing that councils saved nearly £400,000. Sickness rates fell by a third and staff turnover dropped 36%. But does the same amount of work still get done? Joe Ryle is campaign director for the 4-day week campaign. Joe, good afternoon to you. I'm glad we got you on a Wednesday, because if we'd have tried you on a Friday, it would have had no luck, I'm guessing.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't work on a Friday unless I really need to. You know, I might swap something around very occasionally. It's flexible like that, but standardly don't work on a Friday.
There's a lot of elements, aren't there, to this to the argument. So, a lot of it is a kind of romantic, traditional approach to, you know, what's wrong with you? Work 5 days, get it done. You know, companies need you, which is you know, an understandable, perhaps, you know, an old-fashioned reaction, some would say. I'm sure you would say, but I get it. And when you're working in the public sector, perhaps those arguments are a little more powerful. The question, I assume, Joe, is really, do you get the same amount of work done? And that's really all one needs to ask.
Yeah, I mean, well, that, you know, if you look at all the evidence from the trials that have taken place now, and these are quite, you know, there's quite a lot of them, not just in the UK, but around the world, you know, it seems to show every single time that not only does the kind of well-being of workers improve because they have that day off, they have the Friday off, they have a 3-day weekend, but also productivity improves. And, you know, that it's not surprising because, you know, when workers are better rested, they have better work-life balance, they tend to be more productive. You know, that produces better results, not just for the worker, but also for the company. So, you know, we've seen really strong results in the private sector. Now what we're saying was, well, let's see if this can apply to the public sector. And again, where there has been trials, it's been very positive for organisations and for the workers and even for taxpayers. You know, the first council that have trialled a 4-day week in the UK has been very successful. They've saved, as you were saying, almost £400,000 a year for taxpayers. All we're saying now is, let's see if this can be expanded. We're not saying every council should do a 4-day week tomorrow. We're saying, let's do some more trials. But for some bizarre, ridiculous reason, the Tories seem very stuck in the past with this announcement. I have to say, you know, kind of calling on councils to banning councils from doing 4-day weeks. I mean, surely there's better things for them to be doing.
Is there a sense maybe that, you know, if you were talking about a different subject and you were talking about councils and, you know, whether it's fixing potholes, addressing adult social services, whatever, any element of running a council, then most people that work within it or are affected by it would say that it's mayhem, they're short of staff, they can't get things done, they miss deadlines, they just can't cope with the sheer amount of work that's going on. So set that as a backdrop against this suggestion of a 4-day week. Naturally, people will scratch their head on that one, Joe.
Yeah, and you know, I get that. I do get that. You know, I do get on the face of it, it does seem counterintuitive. You know, that working less hours will produce better results. But you know, what we have in this country is a culture of burnout. You know, we do work longer full-time hours than most countries in the rest of Europe. And as a result, you know, we also have lower levels of productivity. So, you know, all these long working hours we're doing are not producing good results for workers and not producing good results for the economy as well. And so what this first council that have trialled a 4-day week very successfully have done, I think, is very innovative. You know, they've said, well, we can't hold on to staff compared to the private sector, so we need to get our job retention up. We want to attract better staff. They've been able to do that, and therefore council services have improved. So it does work, and you know, people do need to keep an open mind on this. The final thing to say is, if you think about AI and artificial intelligence now coming into the economy, this again allows us to be more productive. So what we would say is that workers need to benefit from that, and the way for them to benefit from that is through a shorter working week.
Is there a particular day that, certainly when they've done the pilot scheme, that the councils, does everybody take a Friday off, or do they scatter it over the course of a week?
No, good question. So obviously most people want to have a Friday off or a Monday off so they get the 3-day weekend. But actually at the council, what they've done is roughly half the staff are doing Monday to Thursday and half the staff are doing Tuesday to Friday. So council offices remain open as normal. And in fact, I think they've actually increased the amount of time their contact centres open just by kind of being more strategic with the way they spread those rota patterns. So it's not like the council closes down on a Friday. That's not what's happening.
And it's going to be an interesting place because if it sort of becomes not law, but almost law, and companies are found not to be doing the 4-day week, they could, under Angela Rayner's new measures, get a knock at the door from the old bill. Because we've now got the work police, a new arm to law enforcement in the UK, Joe. What are you making of this?
I'm not sure if they can be called the work police. I mean, I get the kind of framing, but obviously they wouldn't be policing a 4-day week at the moment because it's not government policy in that way. But I generally do think that if we're going to have all these new laws which benefit workers, which I think have been a long time coming, we still have relatively poor working conditions and workers' rights compared to a lot of countries in Europe. So things that have
do we really, Joe? I thought we had some of the best in the world. I thought the EU nicked a load of our laws because they were so good that they thought, yeah, we need to be more like the UK.
No, if you look at things like sick pay, maternity pay, paternity pay, some crucial workplace issues, we actually fall far behind many of our European neighbours. But let's celebrate what we have got. We have just seen some improvement in them. Sick pay's improved. I think the kind of the right to kind of paternity and maternity has improved and become a day one right. There has been some improvements, and I do think we should enforce those. So if this new agency they've set up is going to enforce those, I think that probably makes sense. If we're going to have policies, let's make them work.
Joe, thank you for your time. Joe Ryle is the campaign director for the 4-day week campaign. Is that your pattern of work? Do you just do the 4 days? Look, I know when you do what I do for a living, you're meant to get very angry about councils doing 4-day weeks. And I will get very angry if I think that the ineptitude of a local authority, potholes, social services, social care across the spectrum and all the other areas they're responsible for. If I thought that they were suffering as a result of this, then absolutely I'd revert to that same level of incredulity over anyone suggesting a 4-day working week. But I'm simultaneously an advocate for having a long week. I like the idea that you get a long weekend. I can see that being great. On the wider workers' rights thing, and there's going to be a lot of people listening to this, whether you're driving a truck, whether you're a plumber, a sparky, chippy, painter, decorator, driving a taxi, who are self-employed, and like myself, self-employed. You're responsible for your own taxation, you're responsible for your own luck, if you like, you're responsible for everything. You don't have any of these sort of airy-fairy rules and regs that apparently work in your favour, workers' rights and all the rest of it. It's such a weird place to sit when you hear people talk about holidays are always the amazing one, about not getting paid when you go on holiday. And in fact, when you go on holiday, it's double. So if you book a holiday, it costs you twice because you pay for the holiday and then you don't get paid while you're on the holiday. So you're kind of paying for it again. Now, no one's going to weep for the self-employed who are doing all right out of it. I'm not complaining. But it is interesting when you speak to people who are employed and they've got, I don't know how many days or weeks a year that they're given. And if they're off and they're not very well, they're still getting paid. That's a whole new language to me. I've never experienced that in my entire working life. I don't know what it looks like, what it feels like. I actually don't want to experience it either, but I do marvel at people talking about workers' rights. If you've never been self-employed, then it's just a very interesting vantage point on this particular argument. Steve is in Skipton on the 4-day working week. Steve, what have you got for us?
Great show as always, sir. I really enjoy your show. Thank you for that.
That's a pleasure. What are you thinking?
I'm a tradesperson, but I'm a mechanic.
Yep.
Now, there's no ways that my boss is going to say, okay, you can work 4 days and then have Friday or Monday off.
Okay.
I can't go home because I can't obviously expect the customers to bring their vehicles to my house. I don't think my neighbours would be too keen on them having come into my house either. That's
true.
Builders, everything like that. So it's only going to be these office people that are going to get the advantage of the 4 days. And as I said, he's got the They're half working the Monday till the Thursday and another half from the Tuesday till the Friday or whatever it is. That still means that for 2 days of the week, you're still going to have half staff. So you're going to go in there on the Monday or the Friday. You're going to have half staff, so you're not going to get. It's going to take twice as long to get in as what you would do if you were there Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
I mean, I can't help but think, despite what our last guest said, I can't help but think there's got to be some downsides to this.
No, there is. I can't see a 4-day week. You know, we're a productive society. I think you need to work a 5-day week.
Yeah.
You know, I work from home at the moment, and the reason I work from home is I just work on a computer, so I don't have interact with people. There's just certain things I have to do. We're obviously monitored by the company that I work for, what you do during the day and all that type of stuff. And to be honest with you, I think I'm more productive at home because I don't. Every time I go to work, I've got 30 people talking to me every 10 minutes. Where have you been? What have you done? Come, let's have a cup of coffee. Whereas at work, at home, I feel that I have to do the work because I feel guilty that if I don't, I'm doing something wrong.
That's right. Well, there's a certain ethic, isn't there, that most of us have.
Just because I feel that guilt, I want them to be, okay, you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. So it can work, but it just depends on. But I just feel sorry for the tradespeople. They're always ones that get the short end of the stick. They normally start at 5 in the morning. They get home at 12 at night.
Yeah.
They always in the rain and the snow, and then all these people like myself, unfortunately, we're sitting in an office, and then, oh no, we only want to work 4 days a week, and only 3 hours a day or something like that. Which I think maybe a bit unfair. And if we can do it, why can't they do it?
I like it. Steve, great call. Thank you very much indeed. Steve in Skipton. Let's go back to Iran and what's happening there. Stephen is down in London. What have you got, Stephen? Hi.
Hi, Ian. Great show.
Thank you.
What I wanted to say was that Iran didn't let Lebanon agree to a ceasefire.
Yes.
And what has happened is Lebanon, through Iran, are sending it through missiles to Israel. 150 went yesterday. So they're not part of it.
No, it is, it's absolutely right. Something we probably haven't clarified enough, that this ceasefire doesn't apply right across the region.
No, so it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Well,
all Iran is doing is just doing everything through Lebanon now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not as if they don't have when it comes to Hezbollah and the organisations that are operating in those other countries, these are directly sponsored by Iran, right? So it's kind of the same thing.
Exactly the same thing, quite completely.
Yeah, love it. Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Stephen, down in London. Get well soon. Lots to get through here. Let's get a voice note. This one comes from Ian.
A message to your previous caller, Phil. Diplomacy? What are you talking about? The Shah was installed in 1953 by the MI5 and the CIA in a coup overturning a democratic elected leader, Mohammed Mossadegh, to steal their oil. And the Shah was a despot. He was a butcher. He was a tyrant. He was replaced, and unfortunately, by another butcher and a tyrant. So get your facts right, Philip. This is Ian from Feltham, currently in Jamaica.
Right, not in Feltham. That would be a whole story, wouldn't it? I've got phones there. Currently in Jamaica. Is that like, did you escape there from Feltham? Ian, thank you very much. And Phil, if you want to respond to that, please drop us a voice note back. The number 0344 499 1000. That is Ian with a very brief history lesson. 0344 499 1000. Let's move to some more comment from you. James in Devon says, as someone that managed in the public sector, they are inefficient, resistant to improvement, treat taxpayers' money like free money. A 4-day week is a joke. It's pure laziness. It won't increase productivity at all. Most councils, if a business would fold in a week. I think if they ran as a business, they would fold. I'm fed up of paying tax for inefficiency. It's a good point. I am struggling on the notion that I would imagine if you speak to most council workers or people in senior positions in council workers, they would say we need a 10-day week, mate, because we just haven't got the manpower, the time to do everything. And who does it affect anyway? Is it just people who work in the office side, those who've got a desk job, as distinct from the bin men, for example? I don't know how that would pan out, although I'm sure there are arguments around it. Most bins, we've escaped the 2-week bin round forever until this year. And now they've changed the whole thing to be 1 week your bins, the next week you're recycling. Bizarrely, our council have never taken away glass bottles, only everything else. Now you can put your glass... This sounds like, to me, this is a massive victory. Because you've got to take your glass, but your empty beer bottles or anything else, you've got to take them to the tip or to a supermarket car park where they've got a bottle bank thing. And even there, some of them, you've got to put the right colours in bottles. You've got to put the green ones here and the brown ones and then the clear ones. It's a right old faff. So anyway, we're going 2 weeks on the normal rubbish. It's going to be every 2 weeks. And then on the other week, it will be your recycling. But they are introducing the food wastage bin. Now, I think I once had a dalliance with a food wastage bin in Bromley. It was a very brief incursion into that area of recycling. It's a messy old game, isn't it? Where do you keep your food wastage bucket? Anyone got one? Amy, have you got one? No. Faith, have you got one? Well, Faith said, yeah, we've all got one. Get with it, boys. We've all got one, a food wastage thing. What do you put everything in? Finn hasn't got one. If Finn had one, he wouldn't use it, OK? These things, you might as well just... I mean, I don't want to put... It's like pig swill, right? It's like a bucket of vomit. It's just discarded food, whether it's soups or bits of chicken, and it's got to sit there in a bin. Where do you keep it? Outside, in the garden? How do you stop the foxes going nuts over it? How do you stop my dog... Well, Finn's going, where do you put your food anyway? You put it in a bin, but then you take the bin out, don't you? About 4 or 5 times a week. This thing's going to sit there for 2 weeks with food in it. I'm getting, in my ear, I'm getting told by Finn that I'm making this up. Right, a bin arrives, it's this big. I've got to put this food in it for 2 weeks or a week, and then they're going to come and collect it. That's disgusting. What do I... hang on, now Faith is telling me, that's our other producer, that you put the bags outside in another bin. Where's this other mystery bin arrive from? It's a bigger bin that goes outside. So I've got 2 bins now, one with waste. This is disgusting. This is not progress. I'm paying for bins to be collected. Please just collect my manky old discarded chicken and the odd burger left by the kids. Good Lord. 0344 499 1000. We're back after this.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is Talk. 0344 499 1000. So a couple of questions we got up and running. I'll come back to those in just a second. We've got the voice of doom. It's a brand new voice. Yesterday's it was only 5 days it lasted. It was Ben Wallace, former Conservative Defence Secretary. So we have a brand new voice. I think this one is easy. I genuinely think it is. It's a mystery voice. Remember, you're looking for a politician, left-wing or right-wing, dead or alive. Who is this?
To their advantage.
So literally, Finn just spoke in my ear as he spoke. Let's hear it again.
To their advantage.
Oh, can I hear that again?
To their advantage.
Who is that? 87222 if you think you know. Lines are open as well. We're asking that question. What can Starmer contribute to the ceasefire? 4-day working weeks. Can they work? Do you already do one? And doctor strikes are on the list as well. Oh, and will Donald Trump get a Nobel Peace Prize? Has he played a blinder, or is this just all fluff and nonsense? 0344 499 1000. Georgina in London. Georgina, what have you got for us? Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Ian.
Hi.
I don't know why on earth Keir Starmer has flown out to Saudi Arabia. The man never wanted to get involved in the war anyway. He made that perfectly clear. He has got nothing to contribute to this terrible situation. As far as this war is concerned, Ian, I think Donald Trump actually needs to make a stand. All this giving them chances after chances. These people are terrorists. You cannot negotiate with terrorists, and they are not going to stop, and it's going to get worse. They need to make a stand with Iran. They need to bomb Iran. They need to sort this mess out. There is always death with war. No matter what you do, there is death with war. And it's not going to be one of those things where we're going to be able to come to a finalised solution without some kind of conflict. So Donald Trump actually needs to sort the job out, get in there and get it done. But the thing is with Keir Starmer, I think he is very worried about the fact that if Donald Trump does bomb Iran, then there will be huge repercussions here in England, as there will be all over the world. I mean, we have taken in hundreds of thousands of migrants, both legal and illegal. A lot of them Iranian, a lot of them are radical Islamists. I mean, we've seen this going on in this country already with things that have happened, horrible things that have happened.
Indeed.
To say enough is enough.
enough.
And get this job done.
I hear you. Listen, but will Trump follow through with that? Georgina, thank you very much indeed. Great call from Georgina. Over to you, 0344 499 1000. What are you making of Starmer's visit to the Middle East? And will Donald Trump create world peace? Oh, and the voice of doom. Have a listen.
To their advantage.
Who's that? 87222.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And good afternoon. Yes, welcome back. We've got a whole load of stuff going on here, particularly that 2-week ceasefire between Iran and the United States announced last night. Just give us your overarching assessment of what you make of that. Do you trust it? Has Trump played a blinder? He sent out what was described as a bit of a moody message on Truth Social the day before, saying we're going to obliterate an entire civilization. It was threatening, it was unconventional, it was disturbing, but has it actually done the trick? What does this ceasefire mean? Has it got any real teeth to it? And I guess time will really tell. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer has also hot-footed it to the Middle East. He's out there meeting leaders from various countries. Not absolutely sure why he's there, but one would assume it has to be connected to this. Ceasefire happens, enter Keir Starmer on a plane, as directed perhaps by Donald Trump. Your overarching response to all of that, 0344 499 1000. As a consequence, and there is some silver lining, oil prices dropped significantly after that ceasefire was announced. It also included the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, plus American crude plummeted 18% from over $117 a barrel to $93. Will we see this reflected anytime soon on the forecourts? And your thoughts on this? Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has vowed to outlaw strikes by doctors, I guess in the same way that police or the army can't strike. She's condemned the British Medical Association, stating it was betraying the patients its members swore to serve. I think she's onto something here. 0344 499 1000. That's where you find us. You can drop us a voice note there as well, and you can message 87222. This comes from Phil in Thurrock. 4-day week, 4 on, 4 off. Everyone on a rolling rota. They won't like that. Yeah, 4 weeks, 4 days on, 4 days off. Well, that's like working 8 days a month, isn't it? Have I got... Finn's mum used to work for the ambulance service until the incident. And then she had that 4 days on, 4 days off thing. I do kind of... You know, you get people who work on oil rigs, don't they, and stuff like that. You do longer shifts and really long days and back-breaking work sometimes, or mentally challenging work. And so you then get... I've never worked out whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. When people go, I've got 6 days off. I've just done 10 on. Is that good? And Jane referenced recycling. Our yucky food bin sits on our kitchen counter above our general bin. We use green biodegradable bags, which we then take outside to the red-coloured wheelie bin. We've got used to it being there with all its stinky contents, but we are then charged by the council for them to uplift it along with the garden waste. Really? They charge to take your food? See, there's a whole debate here, isn't it, how your local authority do recycling. So our place decided to have big recycling, like bags, about a year ago. Literally a massive green bag. You know the kind of thing if you ordered some sand, it would arrive in. It's something a bit smaller than that. The problem with it, even though it's got a slight weight in the bottom, is that when it's a windy day, they're all over the street. They're everywhere. You see these bags up trees all over the show. They're getting rid of that in favour of another bin. What is the record amount of bins out there? Because we went through a phase, didn't we, when people had about 8 bins. This is ridiculous. I'm now about to enter the world of the food recycling bin. And unlike Janie, well, maybe like Jane, I can't think of an available bit of kitchen top to put a food bin. Genuinely. It's going to be... Can't put it on the floor because we've got a dog. The dog would go nuts over that kind of malarkey. I don't know where you'd put it. What am I going to move? I've got a cutting board over there. I've got a coffee machine over there. A microwave in the other place. I'd have to put it on the... We'd have to eat our dinner with a food waste bin in the middle of the table, like salt and pepper. Maybe you could dig in for afters, if you... I don't know. It's coming to our house soon. Tell us what happens around your neck of the woods when it comes to almost the bureaucratic nonsense of the recycling regime. Can you keep up with it? Have you been fined? Finn was just telling us some friends of his just got fined for putting their bin out the night before? And who takes on the job, by the way, the day before? Somebody gets a job, they go around with a clipboard, go, I think you got your bin out too early, mate. It's £50 fine. Really? 50 quid for... I know you don't want bins out all over the place, but come on. Record amounts of bins, and what do they service? And is there anything else you have to separately recycle? We're all ears at this end. 0344 499 1000. Now, major problems, notably the energy shock following the Iran war, were made worse by government policy failures. Although long-term underinvestment in energy diversification was a contributing factor, the crisis exacerbated by Ed Miliband's rapid decarbonation policies too, and his refusal to utilise domestic oil and gas resources. It's a bit of a mess out there. This country has got some big challenges. They can blame Iran every day of the week, and politicians will blame it on absolute potholes will be blamed on Iran soon. You watch. But there are some domestic considerations here which we can blame or put at the government's door. Let's speak with Julian Jessup, independent economist. Julian, good afternoon to you. I know you've written a piece in the Telegraph about this today. Just give us an overview of the picture and how much of it can we point to Iran as being the blame?
Well, we've had a problem, of course, with energy prices for some time, well before the US and Israeli attacks on Iran. So, for many years, actually, the UK has had the highest industrial electricity prices, give or take, in Europe, which is obviously a major problem. And I think a far bigger headwind for the economy than some things that other people focus on, including Brexit and even the fallout from COVID. So I think getting energy prices down and increasing energy security is absolutely essential. But this government and actually previous administrations have done a very bad job here. I'm pretty neutral actually as to where our energy comes from, whether it's nuclear or solar or wind or North Sea oil and gas. But I think we need to allow the markets to decide which of these resources is the best one to use.
Yeah.
Instead, we've had a policy of the government intervening all the time. So you may remember the early years of the coalition government between the Conservatives and the Lib Dems. Nick Clegg saying we don't need nuclear power stations because they wouldn't come online for 10 years anyway. So we underinvested in.
No, but that's
power.
just on that point, Julian, because we've made this comment quite a bit over the last few weeks. I mean, what a stupid thing for a politician to say. I mean, stupid retrospectively, and maybe even Clegg would acknowledge that. But the idea that you would say, well, these things won't come around for 10 years, that applies to everything across the world when it comes to energy infrastructure. Whatever you were building is going to take many years to put into place. The argument that it was going to take a long time was a completely anti-intellectual, an unsound and stupid position to take, surely.
Well, exactly. I think you need to have realistic timescales for doing all of these things. And if you're making a longer term plan, you have to recognize that some of the investments you're making now may not come on stream for 5, 10, 15 years. But actually, there's another problem there is that we seem to take so much longer than other countries to do anything anyway. So it may well have been that in the case of the UK, that nuclear power wouldn't have come on stream in 10 years. But if another country like France, for example, had done it, I suspect it would have done in maybe 5. And if it had been China, maybe 2 or 3.
In terms of where we're at now, then, I mean, are we in are we kind of about to flatline? Are we just a little bit under the weather, seriously ill, or getting better?
Okay, well, we did, of course, have that good news overnight. So the announcement of a ceasefire between the US and Iran, I think, obviously, is extremely important. There are still some unanswered questions. What will the final deal look like? What is Israel going to do, which at the moment isn't party to this deal? But we have seen those steep falls in oil prices that you mentioned. Also, the price of natural gas has come down quite sharply too, and that's really important because that's going to feed into whatever happens to the Ofgem cap on domestic energy bills in July.
Yeah.
It still looks likely that cap will rise, but perhaps by not as much as might be feared. So we're definitely getting a short-term hit. It looks like headline inflation is going to be closer to, say, 4% in April rather than the 2% the Bank of England had been hoping for. But I don't think we can look forward to quite steady falls in inflation from the summer onwards. And if that's the case, I don't think it'll be too long before the Bank of England starts looking at cutting interest rates again, rather than raising them, as some people have been fearing recently. So
Yeah.
I think we'll see a short-term hit, but not the sort of deep recession that might have happened if Trump had pressed ahead with his attacks on.
So it's interesting because we've been discussing the wider question about whether Donald Trump is on his way to collect a Nobel Peace Prize, which sounds a bit wacky when you've just bombed the hell out of an administration. But of course, his threat yesterday was so much worse. Is it curious that he's to coin that phrase, he's played a blinder, and peace in the Middle East will come as a result of Donald Trump? And if it does, then there's all sorts of knock-on effects of positivity, if that is the case.
Well, I mean, I'm not a geopolitical strategist or a military analyst, but looking at it as an economist, they seem to have set some aims for this attack, and none of them have really been achieved. So, aim 1 was regime change, but if anything, the Iranian regime seems stronger than ever. Aim 2 was supposed to be destroying Iran's ability to make nuclear weapons, but the White House was reporting it had done that nearly a year ago, so it's not clear that's something new. And if anything, a stronger Iranian regime might now feel it's got a better incentive to get nuclear weapons as an additional bargaining ploy. So it's far from clear to me that Trump has actually achieved anything. He said he spent an enormous amount of money and created a big hit for the world economy, including the US economy. The US economy has not been immune to this. Gasoline prices have spiked there as well. So I struggle to see what he's achieved.
Yeah, and you're right. He needs to at least say he's got a victory out of this, even if he hasn't in any meaningful sense. He's good at giving those press conferences. I mean, he was telling us the war was won, it's over, there's a new regime. I mean, this was really not true. Even, you know, if you're a Trump supporter, you have to acknowledge none of that was literally correct. But of course, he's got his eye on the midterms. He's trying to create the mood music for optimism. Economically, as you say, there's some shockwaves through the US, and the economy might be rumbling along better than ours, but it is taking a bit of a hit, and it's not just in gasoline.
Yes, well, the US economy did perform a lot better than most people expected last year. A lot of economists, myself included, assumed that the imposition of tariffs would have an immediate and big negative effect on the economy, but that doesn't seem to be showing through. However, that was partly because there was this boom in AI in the tech sector that the US was particularly well placed to benefit from. So if we get a bursting of the bubble in AI, this year, then I think that will expose some of the underlying weaknesses of the US economy. That'll increase the pressure on Trump ahead of the midterms. So even if the sort of immediate conflict risks from the Middle East are fading, I think that'll contribute to an increase in political risk in the US, which could have global implications as well.
Indeed. Julian, thank you. Julian Jessup, independent economist, on the overarching view of what it's looking like. All of this is dependent on, I would assume, the next... I mean, this thing happens so fast, it could be the next number of hours, but certainly in the next 5 to 7 days, what happens to the Strait of Hormuz, which, you know, nobody had ever even heard of, really, in any meaningful way up until this happening. But that is clearly the pinch point of this whole war. But the knock-on effects are plentiful, and they're in other areas too, not least the overarching geopolitical nature of the Middle East. A guest said to us earlier that Netanyahu will be fuming over this. And remember, there's not a peace deal right across the Middle East. This is Iran, so there's no bombing of Iran. But what is happening in other countries, Lebanon being the obvious one that keeps getting mentioned, that continues and may continue at a much accelerated rate. We don't often hear about civilian casualties in those areas, but you can bet your life they are there. On I was about to say a lighter note, but not a lighter note if you're an astute watcher or witness of council bureaucracy when it comes to your bins. Joanna in Salisbury says, I'm in stitches about your bins, Ian, and how much chaos there is. You forget there is a different problem. If you stay at someone's house, that in a different area they use different colours and systems. Then there was the garden bin that used to be free, that is now 76 quid a year, and the councils make money out of them. Yes, they're charging for, certainly if you want your waste taken away, I take it down. I have to buy the bags to take it down to the dump. Or you can just have an extra wheelie bin and they will come and take it away for, as Joanna said, I don't do it. I think my neighbour does it. 70 odd quid a year, whatever it is. Michelle says, here in Norfolk, we have a black bin for recycling, a green one for food waste, and an optional paid brown bin for garden waste. Any extra recycling, we buy big clear bags, fill them up, leave them beside the bin, and they're taken. I fill them up, take them to the A21 and drop them out the back of the car. Now, of course I don't, but I tell you what, we know plenty of people that do, right? That's not uncommon. 0344 499 1000. Lots more calls to come. Dave says you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Is that a metaphor for our views on the Middle East, or is it about me recycling? Gypsy is in Kent. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing fine and love listening to you.
Nice to have you with us. Thank you. What are your thoughts?
Waste, the food waste. Originally, like you, I was horrified, but it works really well. They collect it once a week, and it's in bins that the lids fit down so that foxes don't get them.
So it clicks down, sort of thing?
Yeah, it does, yes. But also, recently, they've started making us put compostable bags in the food bins, which is a real pain, you know, having to grapple with all this stuff. But having said that, I keep a bag for, obviously, potato peelings and vegetable, you know, that sort of stuff. And I keep in the top bit of the fridge a big plastic, you know, container, which I put what I call plate leftovers.
Yes.
That sort of stuff and stuff I don't like and want. And that stays in the freezing part of the fridge. so it doesn't get smelly or anything like that. So, it works actually quite well.
Yeah. So you've just got to box clever on this stuff, really. Think about it.
You have got to box clever, and you get used to it.
Yeah.
But of course, then they muck around with it and start making you buy these bags, and But may I talk about Trump very quickly?
Please do. Yes. What are you thinking?
The only reason Trump was he went first to Ukraine. He stole their mineral rights and so on, and then he left once he'd got that. He went into Venezuela, put someone in place who he could manipulate, get their oil and everything. And then in Greenland, as soon as they'd said he could have whatever he wanted, so long as he didn't invade, he left them to it. And he went into Iran with the same view, get someone in place who he could manipulate, take the oil, because he said I'll take the oil and go, quite happy with that. That's all it's about.
It really is about control of the oil. Indeed. I mean, ultimately, it is about the control of the oil.
Mineral rights as well, all that.
The minerals as a whole, and I don't think Trump has yet achieved control of any of that stuff, right?
I think he's got more. He's got rights to the Ukraine and Venezuela. He's stealing all their oil all the time, and also there's talk of a toll for going through the Strait of Hormuz, or whatever, and you bet America will lapse into that. Anything where there's money, Trump is there. Oh, and his eyes.
And he would say that's why he was elected, because it needed a business brain. If there's money there, he's looking after America, doesn't care about anybody else. And many would reasonably put forward, Gypsy, that, perhaps we could do with a Prime Minister that does something similar. I've got to run. You've been brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for your call. Let's speak again. Let's do the voice of doom as well, the mystery voice. Day one of the new political voice. Here it is.
To their advantage.
These are some of the guesses. Ed Davey, Stuart Jackson, Ivor Biggin. No. Jeremy Hunt, Graham Stewart, David Cameron. Let's hear it again.
To their advantage.
No. Boris Johnson. No. We haven't got a winner. I thought it was going to go today, but it didn't. It's back tomorrow, same time. Keep it here. We'll return to more of your calls coming next on Talk.
crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to The Royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Dan in Gloucester says our food bin lives under the sink and never sees the light of day. It's less effort to shove it all in the black bin. Well, that's the point, isn't it? And that brings you to, it was our previous caller mentioned it, when you peel potatoes, here's a question, where do you peel them? Finn, in my ear roll. Finn leaves the skin on. He is so rogue. Sorry, he's so wrong. I just peel them directly in the bin. That's the easiest thing. Faith, I think, is with me on this one. Just peel them straight, because otherwise you do them in the sink and then you've got to, because I know that is the tradition, you just do them in the sink and then you clear them all up and you take the peelings to the bin. Just do them in the... But that would be banned, wouldn't it, under the new bin regime, under my new bin regime. I wouldn't be able to put the... You could do them in a colander, but they do sometimes fly off in multiple directions. You've got to... That would happen regardless. Colander's not a bad idea. This from Christine. It says, your food bin will be full of fruit flies in the warmer weather. It's a joy. There is that issue as well. 0344 499 1000. I think under the sink is looking like the most likely place. Under our sink has got quite a lot of stuff in there, but I think some of that can come out. I think. Joe is in Grimsby. Joe, what have you got for us? Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ian. I'm in Cleethorpes, actually.
Lovely Cleethorpes.
Ian, you know it well.
Indeed. I had a horrendous experience on a Helter Skelter in... Oh, no, that was in Skegness, actually, but, you know...
Yeah, it was
just up the road.
Similar difference.
Go on.
Well, what we've done for a long, long time, of course, you'll be familiar with Cleethorpes and seagulls.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a bit of a flat roof in your garden, or you can make one somehow, save all your food, put it out on the flat roof reasonably early in the morning to give it daytime, and the seagulls will eat everything. You don't, bones, skin, feathers, even the paper bags. And once they get used to you're going to put that food out, they will be there waiting on your chimney pot to descend. They'll nearly be taken out your hands. There's no need to...
But to achieve this, you've got to chuck a bag of old food on your roof.
Well, you need a bit of a flat roof, Ian.
I've actually got a flat roof.
You've got to do it properly, like, or
I'd have to go through one of the kids' bedrooms to get to it.
Well,
just chuck it out the window.
You're feeding the seagulls. I mean, you might get a bit of white on your patio where they.
Yes. Should I experiment first? Do you think with the occasional bit of food just to see how it pans out?
Well, obviously to start with, you're just to get them attracting. Then you can have wonderful games. I mean, some of the chicken bones I've seen wedged in the seagull's throat is really worth
almost art.
Actually.
Yes, because they can digest that stuff against all odds.
They will. two gulps, and there's absolutely nothing.
What a filthy old bird that is, isn't it?
I'm going to come back. I'd love to come back. If I'm coming back, I think the seagull they can soar in the sky, can't they? They can deposit their waste on you.
If they don't like you, they got the freedom of the skies. They've got as much food as they want.
They can live on absolutely anything.
And they can nick a sausage out your chip bag.
Yep, without you even being aware of it.
Without even being aware. You dip your hand back in. Where's my sausage gone? Yeah. Oh, look, a seagull's taken it. Yeah, very versatile bit of kit is your seagull. Love it.
So, all right, mate.
Good man, Joe. Thank you very much. Say hello to Cleethorpes. There he is, Joe, over there on Seagull Detail. I don't know, would that work? I've got a lot of... There's obviously a fair amount of wildlife in this country in terms of the bird population. Blackbirds, magpies seem to be all over the show. Crows, that kind of stuff. Seagulls are everywhere, I guess, aren't they? But you just stick your food out on the roof and they will eat it all. The trouble is, you've got foxes, haven't you? But then if it's on a flat roof, can the fox get up a flat roof? They can get anywhere, a fox, can't they? I mean, they're pretty versatile. Smelly old gits they are, but they're versatile beasts. Very Olympic-like, svelte, agile. Yeah, they can do it. They don't just go up a drain pipe, they go in the drain pipe. That's what a fox can do. And they just pop their little head out the top. You never seen that? It's called a fox pipe. You might have seen it on the Attenborough show. Rats can definitely do that. Yeah, I don't know about sticking it on the roof of your house, but the council would probably go, it's great recycling because you're giving it back to nature, although I'm not sure seagulls should be encouraged in any shape or form. This one comes from Ashley in Whitstable. We were talking about 4-day weeks and the like. Ashley says, I'm self-employed. I have a little company that does granite worktop, stonework, etc. I get up early every morning. Some days I get early. Some days I get home early. Some days I get home late. I would love a 4-day week, and to be truthfully honest with you, I could probably do all of my work I do in 5 days or even 6 days in 4 days. If we were more productive, then we could afford to have a long weekend. Now, the reason that people will employ Eastern Europeans, let's say it's because they're very hard-working people, even down to the infrastructure in their country, for us to resurface the road that will crack within 6 months will probably take us 3 months. They do this stuff in a matter of days. It's embedded for other countries to work harder and faster, but I don't believe that we could afford to do that in this country. Great show, mate, says Ashley in Whitstable. Thank you, Ashley, for that. Yeah, I think there is a culture to that. There's a culture, I've mentioned this before, just briefly, I lived in a flat. There was about 15 flats in this place, and there was a big shared drive, and everybody had to chip in to have the drive resurfaced. And on the day these guys were coming, it was absolutely bucketing down. I mean, it was biblical. And these, 10 Polish guys showed up with some buckets and some kit. They had all the right kit, by the way. And I'm thinking, they're never going to work in this. Came back at 5 o'clock. There was a brand new drive there. And I thought, how did they do that? Firstly, how did they work in that weather? How did they achieve it? It was a massive drive, by the way. Big shared drive for about 20 cars. And... they did it. Somehow did it. Don't get me wrong, there was a sinkhole there 3 weeks later, but, they did their best. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
25 to 4. James in Devon says, as someone that managed in the public sector, they are inefficient, resistant to improvement, treat taxpayers' money like free money. A 4-day week is a joke. It's pure laziness. It won't increase productivity at all. Most councils, if they were a business, would fold. I think I read this one earlier. I do this one at least once a show, and I read another one out an hour later. I'm fed up with paying for tax inefficiency, and I think that's the problem. You wouldn't mind if everything was tickety-boo, it was all running fine, it all made sense, and once in a while, you know, something great happens, you report something to the council, and it's sorted. But it is kind of a bit like when you go to the NHS, isn't it? Everyone has got, you know, it seems, a story of a disturbing story about their experience with the health service, but also we've usually all got one at least of a good story. When you did show up, you got treated straight away, everything was great, you had an operation, you had a pain, you had a scan, and they sorted it all out, you had your procedure and job done. When that happens, it's absolutely brilliant. And then they look after you for the next few years because they keep your eye. Every 6 months you go back for a quick checkup, everything's tickety-boo. When it works like that, it's great. And I think similarly with the council, although less so, when things like this work well, you just think, yeah, this is fantastic. This is working brilliantly. But when it doesn't, we know the problems. Now, let's talk about tool theft here, because a lot of you guys listening will know what it feels like to have the back of your van cracked open overnight and your entire livelihood completely stolen. This is not unusual, and it's difficult to get insurance in these kind of areas for this very reason. And I know the advice is always don't leave it in your van. Well, it's easier to say, your van is your workplace, and you know, if you've got a load of plants and other kit in your, what are you're meant to empty the entirety of your van every single night, even though you've got it secure and you've got alarms on it and big old bolts that claim to be impenetrable to the most vicious bolt cutters. You've got all of this going on. But theft now impacts over 80% of tradespeople in this country. You can lose months' worth of income. There's a 16% rise in these thefts in the last year. The ability of police and government to protect these workers is massively in question. Let's speak to Charlie Mullins, founder of WeFix. How you doing, Charlie?
All good, Ian. All good, thank you.
Nice to see you, as ever. I mean, this has always been a huge problem, but it seems to be getting worse.
Exactly. Well, I think you're finding that we're letting people into the country that have got no money and got no way of getting any money. So that's obviously helped to increase it. And it appears that, you know, the police are not interested at all on it. I mean, look, we know who's thieving the stuff and we know where it's being sold. So it's not over difficult to resolve the problem. But they will never resolve it with alarms and boxes in vans, etc. It's just not going to work like that. They're very professional. They know how to get into the van.
Yeah.
We've either got to get the people that are stealing it or get the people that are selling it.
Yeah. It's exactly that, and as you rightly say, I was just talking about it, you know, these amazing locks that can cost hundreds, purporting to be that they can guard against any kind of bolt cutter. That, you know, these guys are, it's organised crime, right, Charlie? I mean, once they get going, they're in and out like a robber's dog. They don't hang about.
Well, I was just saying, it's taken them 60 seconds, and if you had a warning alarm to your house, time you've gone out there, then you got to face these people. And of course, to build a van like a security van would just be unrealistic cost-wise. So the only way to do it is, you know, if they catch the people that get it, it should be automatically 5 years in prison. And the people that are selling it should also get 5 years in prison. I mean, they haven't got the receipts or the certification for it.
Yeah.
So it's fairly, they know it's bent, but, you know, unfortunately the police are turning a blind eye to it, and it's costing the economy a lot of money.
It's costing the economy a lot of money, and of course, if you're a plumber, Sparky, areas that you know really, really well, Charlie, it's been in your blood since you were a boy, literally, then this isn't a case of, oh, look, I've had my drill nicked or my pipe cutters nicked. This you could be out of work for weeks or months.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's exactly what's happening. And, you know, I mean, at the moment, a lot of people can't even afford to put petrol in their car.
Yeah.
So you can imagine having like £2,000 or £3,000 worth of tools, Nick. But you've got all these alarm companies coming up with gadgets and warnings and advices. I mean, they're just talking rubbish, absolute rubbish. No alarm is going to stop anybody getting in your van. I mean, I reckon I've got the best answer, and that means you'd have to employ somebody to drive you around and be sitting in your van all the time. But of course, it's not cost effective.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a 24-hour chauffeur. Well, you know what that feels like now, Charlie.
Yeah, but
you didn't always.
That's right. But all I'm saying is that's the only way I see of resolving it. Or, as I just said, giving them 5 years in prison for stealing it, and the people selling it at the market, they haven't got the proof and they haven't got the serial numbers and certifications.
Yeah.
So they should also be given 5 years. And I think if you stop the two, you resolve the problem.
Indeed. Charlie, common sense stuff. Thank you. Charlie Mullins, founder of WeFix. He's been in the trade industry for, well, since he was a boy. Done incredibly well in business. Back with WeFix. There he is. Charlie Mullins speaking to us on the programme on the impact of tool theft. And there's going to be so many people listening to this, driving around saying, yeah, been there, mate. I know what it feels like. There's a guy I used to know in my neck of the woods, and he did everything. You know, he parked the van right, kissing the lip of his garage door. So you couldn't get in the back door. But, of course, the diligent thief just gets through the side of the van and somehow managed to essentially just cut out a bloody hole in the side of the van and had his tools away. It was thousands of pounds. And he can't claim on the insurance for that. Was he meant to decant all that stuff every single night into the garage? And would it have been any safer if he had? This is Lenny in Ashford. How you doing, Lenny?
I'm all right, thank you, Ian, mate.
Thank you. Listen, you share a little bit of a common theme with Charlie Mullins, of course, because you know about vans.
Yes, well, I sold vans for 40 years. And the saddest thing, it only happened a couple of times, but it was at times that you never forget.
Yeah.
When somebody, a mature man, had his tools stolen, which was not for the first time.
Sure.
And they decided to take retirement early. They put them out of work.
Wow. So it was that kind of he gave up essentially.
Yeah, it happened a couple of times where what they did, they just the stress of it,
yeah,
and the age what they was, it had happened to the two of them before. It wasn't the first time it had happened.
Yeah,
and they just said, one of them was a plumber. I'll never forget, like similar to Charlie, and he was a lead specialist, and his tools were lead beating tools, and they was all made of wood that he'd had since he was a boy.
Oh.
He said like that they were value. There was no value to them at all.
I was going to say that's not the sort of thing you're going to stick on eBay or flog down a moody market somewhere, because people would think they were like, they weren't the real deal, as it were, but they were right for him.
Yeah, but it's bad enough when you can. Well, no one can afford to replace their tools because it's an expense you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have that expense and that. But that they were the saddest things that I come across in my business.
Indeed. And as Charlie Mullins was saying there, in this respect, Lenny, there isn't really an answer to it. Is it short of having a security guard sitting in your van all day? What are you meant to do?
Well, you can make them a bit more secure. But it is quite expensive to do.
Yeah. Lenny, listen, always good to talk. I know you speak with some real experience in these areas. Thank you, Lenny in Ashford. Great call, 0344 499 1000. Back to waste bins, or food waste bins. Philip says best use for food waste bin is to put some cold water and ice in it and use it for chilling drinks in the garden. You could do that. What happens if you put your food waste in your conventional bin? Does the council go through the bin and go, you got food waste in here, we're going to send you a fine? Really? Would they? No, not yet. Not yet, unless someone's going to tell us that's happened to them. Paul in York says, I've worked a condensed 4-day week for years. However, it was 4 on and 3 off on a rolling basis. This gave cover for weekends. Can you see the public sector doing that? No. And for the question, what is Keir Starmer up to in the Middle East? This one from Mega Vegan says Starmer is donating the Isle of Wight to Saudi Arabia and giving them 35 billion to make them have it. Yeah, that might well turn out to be true. Thank you. Lots to get through. More calls on the way in just a couple of moments. And, of course, a reminder of how you can win that £20,000 completely tax-free. Yes, I did just say you can win £20,000 completely tax-free here on Talk, straight into your bank account. You can do whatever you like. You can splash it, you can go on holiday, you can buy a car, do whatever you like. It's entirely up to you. Here's how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 9th of April 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royal tea from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royal tea from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk. Let's go back to your calls. Loads to get through. Kevin O'Sullivan's here, of course, at 4. But he'll pitch up before then to tell us more. Let's go to Slovakia. Cliff, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. What are you doing over there in Slovakia? Do you live there, work there, or what?
No, I live here. I popped the chute just when I saw it was all going downhill.
Did you? You thought I'm off?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it.
I'm very happy to have done so.
Nice.
Yeah, so on the subject of Tool Fest, so I was a copper for many years, and, you know, we used to have a process whereby we would collate the area crime numbers, the serial numbers of the tools and the descriptions and so on, photographs where they're available, and we would go to the boot sales in plain clothes.
Yep.
And we'd have a backup team with us in uniform with the custody vehicle.
Sure.
And I think at one of these shows, this was down in the southwest around Southampton, Portsmouth, we were doing these largely. And I think I'm trying to remember exactly, I'm sure we arrested 15 at one of these.
Wow.
So we recovered the tools. They were all charged. They were all put before the court, and they were all convicted. The problem is, cops aren't being tasked with these things now. Senior management has got so many more, such a political agenda now that they're not really dealing with the things that really hurt.
That's the bit, Cliff. I can't work this out. Where we currently have as many coppers as we did, so that loss has now been made up. So if they're not going to things like you've just described, tool theft, they're not going to shoplifting incidents, or to, not all of them, but you take the point, mobile phone theft, etc. Where are they being dispatched to?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been involved in it for a couple of years now, so I really don't know. But as a supervisor, we would have a patrol menu that would involve enough cops in the town to respond to theft, shop theft, and to make sure that it didn't become a more serious incident where you end up with an assault on staff or something.
Got it.
And again, people were arrested, they were charged, they were put before the courts, and they were punished. It's almost as if it's been decriminalised now in some way, and it's very much normalised.
And that's it, isn't it? It's normalised. And the more we read stories of there not being a response, the more kind of normalised it becomes. It's a kind of, self-fulfilling prophecy. Cliff, thank you for that. Enjoy Slovakia, although I think we've got better weather here today, but that's another story. Thank you. Jacqueline is in Hampshire. Jacqueline, how are you doing?
Oh, hello, Ian. Nice to speak to you.
You too. What have you got?
The bin thing. I've got, luckily...
Hello? Oh, Jacqueline, you cut out there for a second. Are you there, okay?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go on.
Sorry.
That's all right. You carry on. Your bins.
Right, yeah, my bins. I don't know why I've got this thing in the background. So sorry. Right. In the bins, I've got my bins are literally. I'm really sorry. I think I've got something in the background and I can't get rid of it because I'm an idiot.
We can't hear anything. It sounds fine.
Oh, that's good. Thank God for that. Right. I've got my worktop. I pull out and I've got 2 bins. One is the general that goes at the back.
Yep.
And the one at the front, that's my compost bin. Had that for quite a few years. So I put that in the, and then the other thing is now they've got the food.
Yep.
I then put that in the little caddy. But literally all I ever do, and
yeah, we're struggling slightly with your line, Jacqueline. All right, listen, we'll have to leave it there, but I've heard what you mentioned about the 2 bin thing. Thank you. Jacqueline in Hampshire. Clearly there was some kind of gremlin attack going on. John in Glasgow says, it's total nonsense with all these bins we now have. Green for general waste, blue for cardboard, has to be flattened, purple for glass, grey for cans, black for paper, brown for garden waste. Or as I do, whatever bin has space in it, that's where my rubbish goes. Simple. There's not even a mention of food bins in that one. Isn't the trouble, though, John, that would you get in trouble for putting, you hear of people who get fined for putting the wrong recycling in the wrong bin. Is that still a thing? Joe is in Sussex on waste disposal. Joe, what have you got for us? Hi.
Oh, hello, Ian.
Hello.
I've got on the radio finally after 4 years.
Oh, there you go. Nice to hear from you.
I was just driving, turned the radio on about 10, 15 minutes ago, and I heard Joe from Cleethorpes saying, put all the rubbish on a flat roof for the seagulls. Well, I live in Peacehaven, just outside Brighton.
You know about seagulls.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're a nightmare, basically. If you start doing that, you will have them congregation in about 5 years. You'll have 200 in that area, nesting, waking you up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Because they're aware that there's a constant supply of food.
Yeah, and it's illegal, basically. And they say...
Do you say it's illegal or it's an eagle?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Oh, I thought you were... I thought you were... I thought you were telling me that a seagull is actually technically an eagle. I thought, wow, I didn't know that. That's great boys' knowledge.
No, they're just rats with wings. That's all
they are. Indeed. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel sorry for them. It's not their fault because people feed them. And if you go into Brighton town centre, sometimes you see someone with 5 bags of seed and surrounded by 400 pigeons and 200 seagulls, etc. And they are a nuisance. I mean, I do live by the sea, but probably just 5 minutes from the cliffs here. But they're just a bit of a nightmare, really, to be quite honest. And they scavenge and they eat anything. And that joke from Cleethorpes, I thought he was just joking about, wasn't he? He wasn't really meaning that you should do it. You've got a flat roof, haven't you?
Yeah, partial flat roof.
Don't do it.
No, it would also look disgusting, even though you can't see it from the ground. You could see it from a little boy's bedroom. He's going to look out the window and see a load of old eggshells and peelings.
But what you get also, Ian, is rats. You do get rats.
Yeah, you see, a rat will get on a flat roof, of course, because they'll get literally anywhere, because there's a drain pipe right next to it.
Yeah, they moved inland when the COVID was about and the restaurants closed. They were in search of food because we had them in the gardens here. Yeah. But so nice to get on the radio eventually.
Got it. Listen, good advice, Joe. Thank you very much. Your phone line is also cracking up on us. Maybe it's the weather, but you got through. Thank you. Lovely to speak, Joe in Sussex. Thank you to him. It's the bin bag recycling conundrum, which looks set to get even more evangelical from local councils. We haven't yet heard of people literally getting a fine. I'm sure anecdotally I've heard of people getting a fine because they put cardboard in the glass bin or glass in the food bin or some other nonsense such as that. You do, of course, pay for this service as well. Kevin's here.
We're going to be devoting this show to the bin recycling conundrum.
Yes.
We're going to try to get to the bottom of that.
I think we need to.
We'll be talking about Iran. We'll be talking about America. I mean, I think really the question is this humiliation for both sides? I mean, they're both claiming victory, but arguably they've both lost. And the net result for the world in terms of Donald Trump's contribution seems to be that from now on, the thousands of ships that pass through the Strait of Hormuz every day in normal circumstances, if that is resumed, for every single one of those ships, Iran, the mad mullahs in Tehran, will be receiving $1 million, splitting a $2 million toll for every single ship with Oman. The income from this will be astronomical.
That's astronomical. So that would be...